Disclaimer. Freedom of speech is a fundamental human right that allows individuals and communities to express their opinions and ideas without the fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal action.
Topics, unless otherwise specified, solely represent personal opinions. And there we go.
What's up, you guys? How are we doing? Well, hi.
Hello.
This is the first time. What are we saying, Aiden?
Yeah, it's first time.
Surge.
Surge, domain, very true. First time. I think it's been something that we've been wanting to do, you know, for some time. We do like to chat a lot off stream, you know.
We chat.
We yap.
Yes,
we
indeed.
do our yapping. But yeah, it's something that I feel like it's a work in progress. There's going to be a few things that happen. Hopefully, it's a nice little watch, a little second monitor viewing, something for you to listen to.
Definitely. Absolutely. Just to introduce everybody, welcome. This is Unplugged, Domain and Surge podcast. This is a very new thing. We're only literally just started, obviously, right now. Episode 1. Never ever done before. We are the first Unplugged podcast on the YouTube scene. I don't care about these dickheads out there. Nobody else exists by us. Okay. True. And on that note, obviously there's a lot to get through. We're gonna introduce ourselves. If you don't know who we are already, a lot of people that are watching live right now are gonna know us. Mm-hmm. But on the idea of Unplugged, let me just unplug this baby.
Is that some wine?
Oh. Ooh, yes. A quick unplug of the beautiful Diablo Dark Red. Yes, sir. Drink responsibly. This is me just going to be enjoying it.
Looks amazing.
Throughout the podcast.
Looks good. But anyway, let's get into the first type of, question. So if people don't know us, first of all, Dom, hope you've had a good day as always. And
absolutely.
So yeah, let's start with a little simple question. What got you into, first of all, streaming? Like, why did you want to stream? Let's get straight into that. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And to be honest, I'd like to just go a little bit more deeper into that subject, right? And if you don't mind, I'll take over the reign on this one from now.
Sure.
And I'll speak on it from sort of my perspective. And I'm gonna go from just for the people that I don't know who we might be in terms of myself and Aiden. True. So I'm gonna say this for the sake of the actual podcast and the episode, that people are going to be watching in real time or as a VOD, right? So my name's Dominic, aka Domain, right? I'm Polish. I do obviously speak the British language, so to say, because I've been living in the UK for most of my life. I'm 26 years old and I moved out from Poland when I was... See, now I always get confused about this. I think when I was about 8 years old, but when I started thinking about it, maybe it was when I was 7 or 9.
Either way.
Let's just say 8 years old. Either way, right? Either way, 8 years old, moved out, and from Poland, grew up, brought up, name it what you want, 100% Polish in me. Not a single bit of English or Irish or American, whatever you might call it. Moved out here when I was 9 years old and 8 years old, whatever, and obviously went to school, whatnot. Gaming has always been my huge passion. In Poland, it's a huge thing, especially in my family, my cousins, my brother probably next door right now playing World of Warcraft as we speak. But it's always been a thing, right? And I've carried it through to right now. And at some point, we can go into details here, but without doing that, at some point I just decided to take my other passion, which is entertainment and just audience and acting is what I always wanted to do. But I thought, what's the next best thing next to acting is just anything that has the entertainment value and an audience behind the screen, right? So I always enjoy the idea of spending time with people. And COVID, ladies and gents, which is one of the things that we could definitely at some point, sit down and talk about, me and Aiden, really, my boy Serge.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say has been a massive reason for why I've started streaming.
Yeah.
And you can see my handle just below the thingy domain, right? I've been streaming for the past 3 years. This month in March, 3 years. So it's been some time now. Aiden, he's told me on and off, he's going to tell you himself, actually.
Yeah.
So now here we are, me and Aiden, we've known each other for a very long time, for those 3 years, actually, very long time. In streaming years, it's a long time, 3 years. And we met here on Twitch. And here we are on YouTube, wherever you're watching this right now. Spotify, Instagram, we've got it all. Twitter, make sure you follow all of those handles. And and now we're doing it, the Unplugged, the Unhinged, the whatever you want to name it, whatever you want to create out of this name. That's the whole idea behind it.
Yeah.
It's having everything to say in a world where so little is allowed to actually discuss. And this is that podcast.
Yeah.
So if by any chance you feel like shit is being censored to oblivion, this space is not that. We will be going until we're cancelled. And I hope that's never going to happen. But this stream, this space for us is a space where we can sit down and have a chat about everything. With that said, that's me. It's your boy, Domain. I'm going to sip on this wine and let Aiden introduce himself.
Yeah, nice little introduction. Going to put me towards that. I wasn't going to say too much, but so I'm Serge, Aiden, 28 years of age. I think I've been streaming on and off pretty much 5 years, I'll be honest with you. Many different accounts here, there, and everywhere. Trying to find because I'm not very, I'll be honest with myself, I'm not very much a social butterflies and going outside, to be fair. Ever since health concerns and all that kind of stuff happened in my life. I feel like the only way of socializing for me personally is online, and I feel like streaming has been one of them scapegoats to like talk to people, get yourself out there, meeting friends along the way. And yeah, it's just been one of them great things for streaming. Obviously UK born and bred. Unfortunately, only know English. I don't know anything else. Really wish I did know another language. I mean, trying to teach me French at school was never going to happen. But I think that's pretty much my life. I'd say I was diagnosed, I'll go into it now whilst we're onto the subject. I was diagnosed with stage 5 chronic kidney disease when I was 23. I started off having the disease, and then it got to a point where I need to have dialysis at the age of 27. So that's been a long and uphill journey. Again, something like anyone can relate to, any health conditions. If they want to talk about that, this is the stream to come to. We're very open. Everyone goes through their own stuff in life, and not everyone has a plain sailing book that we can read, and life happens. So yeah, I mean, not to get too deep and personal about that at the moment. We'll definitely go on to that in another episode, maybe even in the future. But ultimately, we are both here doing this unplugged, unhinged broadcast. So everyone has a voice, and we can just say our opinions. Again, strictly opinions. We'll just name that there now. You don't agree, that's a good source of discussion, and then we can have a discussion about that. But yeah, let's go on to the terms of how we actually met. Obviously, I met you playing League of Legends.
Yes, sir.
We did. We met playing League. I was a degenerate Akali one trick back in the day. Playing...
Still are. Not the Akali part.
Still a degenerate League player nonetheless. But I was a mid laner back in the day, and you were still a top main. But the surprising thing is, it was never really Aatrox, though, was it? What was it?
Nah, it was what was it? It was Shen, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was playing some Shen.
It was a
Shen, the ninja.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I remember you plugging your stream as you always do, every single night, other than Wednesdays. And yeah, been here ever since. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This stream is going to be more, but podcast is not going to be about League. It's going to be about everything, all games, and how we function around them. But yeah, over to you, Dom. What shall we go into in terms of gaming then?
Yeah, just to speak on that a little bit, even further than that, I'll even take that further, right? old games,
Mhm.
old life topics that we might even discuss, chat GPT, technology, history, you name it, wine, something that we, maybe going to work on the way today, we saw somebody that this is Aiden's, this is what you said to me, right?
Mm.
You said that even like coming back from work and just, on the way back to home or on the way to work, if you see something that happens, note it down, because these things, they're never really talked about, right? You see everything. We live in a day and age right now where you can sit down and you can discuss anything, and people can join in those discussions. Like well, it's the online environment, and we can literally introduce our opinions and conversations to anybody. But more so, you can drive from point A to point B. Something happens between those two spaces. You can discuss that with people, and you can really put your point across and what you've seen, and that's the beautiful part about it, right?
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I think is what you're going to see on this podcast. The stuff that people don't usually maybe talk about, and the stuff that people absolutely talk about every day. But we're going to go in depth. I feel
100%.
like.
I think that's a good point to make out though as well. Like I say, a lot of streams and a lot of people won't say things because of scare. But obviously, we have the disclaimer at the start, which is another point that we need to make. They are strictly opinions, and again, we might have an opinion which you don't agree with, which again leads into discussions. And we could discuss that, and that's what this is about. You have a voice here, and yeah, it's going to be unfiltered. It's going to be unplugged, as a start, as a as a
I say
title says.
unfiltered, word I've never used to describe the podcast yet. Honestly, add that to the list, because that's one of those things that I really want to capitalize on and I really want to focus on, right? Another thing that we didn't mention as of yet, right, is if you're watching this stream on the podcast, the PK Surge, the Surge _diff on Twitch, then you can see the entire sort of experience behind it. Please make sure you look at me through this camera, not this one, right? So with that said, there's a lot of stuff happening on the screen. Well, not a lot of stuff, but just to introduce a couple of things to people that might be watching, on the actual part of it, which is the podcast with two cameras, with myself and Aiden on here. Below me, you've got the little 1 minute
Timer, yeah.
now, you might be wondering, what is that? What is that, Aiden? What is this 1 minute thing? I don't know.
You're not too sure what the 1 minute is. Let's get into it. So I can see someone's already asking the question about what this 1 minute thing is.
Yeah.
So we see. So the 1 minute question, basically, this 1 minute timer is for when we're having a topic, we're discussing things, we're talking, and we have a bunch of people, in the chat that are talking as well, asking certain questions on a topic that we're talking about, and maybe even just a random question. We might see it. What we want to do is obviously get you guys included, feel like you're part of the team, part of the podcast. And obviously what this is going to do is say if we see a bunch of questions.
Podcast,
yeah,
right?
If we see these questions and we want to quickly fire over to the chat, then we can get a bunch of these questions, start the minute timer, quick fire round, start asking these questions to whoever sees it. Obviously, we've got Dom who could see it, and then we'll start the timer if he sees the questions, or we've got mainly probably be me because I'm in charge of the actual stream at the moment, and then I'll see the questions, and then I'll just ping it.
I have no control, guys. My hands might as well be tied back, bro. That's why I'm sitting here, just relaxing and just enjoying this bit of wine. I don't have to do fuck all. I just let my boy take over.
It is the minute timer, so if I see a bunch of questions that I feel like we can answer, or a bunch of questions, we can do it. Obviously, what we don't want to do is stop in the middle of our conversation of something and then switch over to chat, because obviously we want to keep you guys involved, but the idea is that we have a specified time of a minute. It can happen anytime during the podcast, and then we can literally go into it. So that's the main.
Should we test this? Should we test it, Aiden? What do you reckon? Just with a quick explanation for myself as well. The whole idea, very briefly, is that this is a podcast. Keyword podcast. We are speaking to myself and the other person. The other person is a guest, right? Somebody that might be on this channel. Or flip it round. Aiden is speaking himself, just him, with the guest, which is not me, by the way, not to confuse anybody. I'm yapping a bit right now. It's all about me and Aiden, right? This is the podcast, but there could be guests on here, and that's it. Just because this is a podcast, that does not mean we're going to be ignoring the live messages that we're going to get in, that we're going to be getting in the comments section, as this is live, obviously. So to test how this quick fire round will be working, my boy Aiden is obviously the wrench, the mechanics. He's the wheels. He's the cog. He turns everything here.
As I'm
the
saying
quick fire
that,
round.
it kind of ruined it. So I got a second better fix it.
Oh shit!
But keep going. I'll fix it.
I've run out. Wait, I can fix that. I can say that better. I can say that better. At some point, we was there sitting because we have discussed this podcast for the past, I don't know, like 4 days or so, like a lot, right? 5 days, nearly a week, really. Coming up with ideas and how we're going to do it. For the main part, the whole idea was finding the name, which is going to link both to my social name, which is Domain, and to Aiden's social name, which is Surge, right? That was important. I think that was very important for us to hit the nail on the head for that one, because we wanted to really have like that nice sort of almost reference to both of our names, while at the same time being a name for itself, right? Now, I'll go through 2 of those points, really. You've got Unplugged being a name for itself. That could literally mean anything. Whatever it means to you, right? In my head, not to put, thoughts or, words into your brain. In my head, realistically, it means like we're unplugging ourselves from the shit. I need to think about what I need to say. I need to. This is what happens in the day. In this day and age, people need to, step back. Should I really say that? Am I gonna
Yeah, just go for it.
Is that a good thing to say, or
go for it?
No. This is what Ada. This is what I'm talking about. This is what people like. This is how people think. This is how people think. Like, this is what they say out loud, right? And unplugged means to unplug yourself from those thoughts. No more. Shit. What I'm gonna say? Like, should I really? No more of those thoughts, man. This is what I feel like this word means to me: the unhinged and the unfiltered, unplugging yourself from the rules that have been made by the regulations, the rules that are constantly being added onto the list, by the way. Which is another thing that we can discuss, really. Regulations and rules, and how within a society that is, stable. And when I'm talking about stable society, I'm talking about no war, and we don't live in a country that has war. I'm not talking about the world in general. We could go on to that as well. But there's a lot of regulations and rules in a society that we live in. Me, myself, and Aiden. These things can slowly start playing on the mind and how you think and what you say. And realistically, this space, this podcast, is all about just fucking loosening up, just letting it all go, right?
I think I do agree with that statement. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still human. We don't really want to offend anybody. We don't want to upset anybody. But the idea is the fact, like, we should not be cancelling ourselves, as in like thinking like that. We should be able to express what we think. Doesn't mean we're gonna what we think is correct or what we think is right. It's just we're here to learn, to educate ourselves about topics that we may not understand. And that's what obviously the chatters are for. That's what ourselves are for. But yeah, if we have, but yeah, I'm just yapping. I see people chatting in the chat already. So,
do you want a quick fire test round?
We can quick fire. We can do. I'm just thinking about maybe we get a bunch of questions shoved in the chat right now, and then we can show the evidence of how we're going to do it in future. Obviously, there's the viewer counts. If it takes off, there's going to be more questions, meaning that
let's do it. Start the timer. Let's put it to test, and let's see how it works. And then obviously, if it doesn't work, we can always change it.
Okay. I'll start it now then. There we go.
Quick fire test round. Quick fire round is the round where we got 1 minute to read the chat, read the comments. So we got a quick question from Satisfiable. Thoughts on abortion? Shit.
Well, that's a very...
that's literally the first question I read. What do you mean? All right, well, listen, I've got 30 seconds. I'll be quick. I think abortion in general is... Obviously, it's a human life, so that's important to keep in consideration. But realistically, that human life does not feel anything, so there's not much feelings there. So if you are going to take, the human out of your life, that's your life. It's your life, nobody else's. So you do what makes you happy, but don't involve me in your happiness.
Very true. I'm not you. I agree with this.
That's what I want to say.
People can do what they want to do with that practice. Obviously, there's many different causes of why people do it. I don't think it should be used as a contraception. That's the only thing I think about. I think abortion is mainly the woman's decision. But yeah, that's as much as I've got to say, really. Not that one.
Realistically, and that's it. We only got to go.
You can't hear that.
Bloody
But
hell! Wait, can you guys hear that as well?
Don't think
I thought you could only hear it.
I don't know if everyone can hear that, but I
Well,
can.
my stream definitely heard it.
That
God damn.
blew my ears off. That's hilarious.
There you go.
I mean,
Sweet.
more
And
too
that's-
on that subject. To be fair, I know we only had a minute to do it, but I think what could also happen from that minute, we could go
definitely.
further on to the subject of what it was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
again, there's many different reasons about, like, say, I know Satisfiable myself. He's a troll, but at the same time, we should go into it. I feel like there's many different reasons for abortion. Again, as someone that was potentially had a child with somebody else. Obviously, I've got a child myself. Obviously, I didn't mention that. I do have a son. But I also was with my ex was going to have another child, but she went behind my back and had an abortion without telling me. So again, it's one of them things where, like, it is a woman's decision, but women, if they're selfish, don't really talk to the man about the situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, it's one of them things where I'm happy to talk about it. Don't worry, don't stress. I've gone through it.
No, I've got questions, bro.
Yeah, questions.
I'm not stressing. I have questions, but you keep going, bro. I want to hear a bit more behind this. So
yeah, so
you're literally in the driving seat behind these questions, which is great. I'll let you take over for a little bit.
I mean, like, what happened was, obviously we had our son, and then we weren't in the best of situations in personally. We were on the brinks at the time when she was having another child. I remember the conversation about the fact, like, she is pregnant and all that kind of stuff. We had a conversation, and I've always said to her, it goes down from my mom. You know, my parents were like, "You'll do anything for your child," and all that kind of thing. And it's always the mother's decision. But ultimately, she said to me, "Would I be happy to still do it, even if it was the case, that we were on the rocks? I'd still look after another child if it came to the case, and I would still support it no matter what." Them, him, her, whatever,
Yeah.
But the case, and then the problem is when it comes to that kind of trauma, when she went off and did it on her own without my blessing, shall we say? It's not my.
Okay.
It's not
from that perspective, yeah. So even your sort of like discussion and word of yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of them things where, like, yeah,
Jesus.
I understand, like, why she did that in that way, but at the same time, I couldn't fathom in my personal experience of being able to support her for that decision, because we didn't come to a collective decision. She did it on her own accord, and then she wanted support for that decision, which we never came to a joint decision about. So that's what kind of ruined the relationship, because I couldn't trust her. We couldn't talk about things.
Of course, yeah.
And then we moved on.
Trust gone out the window. No?
So then we moved on from that. But yeah, if you got any questions about it, then yeah, fire away. Like, I'm happy.
Well, I don't know. I'm just like got fucking 100 questions right now, but I can't squeeze a single one out, to be honest. I'm thinking that's first of all, that's fucking horrible, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Obviously, that I don't know how. In a normal day, how much that affects you. So this could be like playing on your brain a lot. But me and Aiden, for everyone right now watching, we've discussed what not to discuss on the stream, and I've clarified the one thing that I don't want to discuss on the stream about myself, and he's clarified the one thing he doesn't want to discuss about himself, right? And I'm saying that just for the reason of these are not deep things. It's just personal life. Sometimes personal questions. What's the point? This, however, was not brought up at all, so I've got full reign over this. I can ask 100%. Whatever I want, and I can say whatever I need, and I'm gonna, because this is Unplugged. So just from a perspective from anybody else that might be watching, that might relate with yourself and has gone through something like this in terms of obviously their missus, their girlfriend has gone behind their back and literally aborted, like. Fucking, that's crazy to say in itself without you knowing. So would you? My question is, and this is a savage question, right? And I'm unhinging myself, bro. Was there a part of yourself that would have also done the same thing, even if you did discuss it?
So you say if the roles were reversed and it was in my situation, if I had the opportunity, is that what you mean?
Not even. Even if you did discuss it, would you reach the same conclusion that she has?
I think again, it all goes off with the positives and negatives of a situation. I think again, yes, we were on the rocks. Like things weren't going very well already. We already had a child, and we weren't financially, we weren't good in a financial state either. And the idea is, if she discussed it with me, then it probably would have come to the same conclusion of, yeah, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do, and we can go ahead with it. And I'd come to support her on that decision.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
the idea of the fact is we never discussed it, and then
Never did.
it never got
Now,
to
the
that
reason why
conclusion.
I ask that is I wanna really reach into your perspective of this. It's because we've only discussed of what she's done and what she's decided. We never really dived deep. We felt, I exactly see exactly how you feel about it. However, it's nice to see it from your perspective, and whether that's something that maybe potentially you would have even done yourself, even if you did discuss it with her, right? So now that you've said that, one, you was on the right path, you already had a kid. So why would you, right? In that scenario, I don't, it's something that I can see has got much bigger meaning, and I'm really sorry to hear that. Obviously, it has gone down that way.
I mean, ultimately, what I think about is,
Trust, right?
it's a trust, but again, I'm not the person. I'm not the woman, who's going to have to give birth to this thing. That's a trauma in itself. I've been there on the first time when obviously my ex
Right.
gave
So
birth.
maybe there's more than first meets the eye on
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I'll be honest with the firstborn, like my son. It was clean sailing. Nothing went wrong. It was easy. It was in and out basically. So, so the fact that we went through that originally, obviously the second, she wasn't worried about the birth of the child. That's one thing that was really.
Yeah.
That's where I could understand. It's like I don't want to go through that pain again, or that this, that, and the other. I get that, right? But the
Yeah.
problem that, like say, I come to was the fact it was a whim, and she went off and did it, and then I come home from work, and then she just said, "Oh yeah, by the way, this," and then I was like, "Oh, okay."
Okay.
So then I've got no
How else do
choice.
you react to something like that? You could take it a couple of scenarios,
Mm,
right? You can let your mind take over. You can let your mind play. You can be aggressive. You can be upset. You can be confused. You can
yeah.
be none of those things. You can be absolutely in the most in the biggest void of emotions. Like, how do I feel
I
about
mean, I can
this?
tell you exactly how I felt about that moment when I came home. I think more to anything, I was um kind of heartless. I'll be real. I mean, I
Yep.
was kind of brutal with the ideology, because obviously she was going through the pain of what she did. Obviously, she had to still do the thing you have to do after an abortion. I don't know if you know how it works, but ideally, she had to go through that. And I was just there like,
Yep.
listen, you made that decision. You made your bed, lie in it. And that was pretty much my attitude towards it. Which again, going
Okay.
back, it wasn't ideal, because I still need
Yeah.
to be there for the person that. But I think at that time the love for her was kind of dwindling, and it was more of the case I was just frustrated about that fact. I feel like I felt a bit offended as well, because I thought like,
Of course.
I've already got a son. I'm doing really well with him.
It's not like she's gone and sold your car,
No,
bro.
exactly. And it's in.
There's more to it. There's a lot of there's a lot of you were prepared. Did you know that? Well, obviously you did, but just for the sake of this question and
Mm.
making it sound, did you know that she was pregnant? And how far along was
Yeah, I
she,
knew she was pregnant. She was about,
bro?
I think about 8 or 9 weeks. I think gone at that point.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
and again, it's just, yeah, I think that's again one of them things where I went through it, and if anyone has ever experienced that kind of thing, and I'm an
yeah,
open book to anybody that has gone through that like traumatic experience. I mean, the one thing that people don't actually understand is, and I feel I'm quite strong on this too. When just moving off the abortion situation, but when my
mm.
son was born, it's like
Ooh,
the men um
let me pour one for that.
don't really get let's just say thought about. Let's just say that.
Well, in what situation did you slap somebody's bum? Who was the bum? What was the bum? And why was the bum?
No. So what I mean is, so when obviously everyone's caring for the woman, right? The woman, the physical needs of the woman when she's giving birth, the mental side of the woman, and all that kind of stuff, right? They're all there for the woman giving birth, as they should be, right? But as a guy
Yes.
that's experienced being the dad in the room, you're basically cast aside as if you're the reason why she's in this mess, which you are. But I was only there to support her, and it just feels like no one's ever there for the dad mentally, and
Ah.
physically in terms of the trauma you've just witnessed. You know, you've just seen your missus give birth to a human. You know,
Yep.
that is a traumatic experience in itself, right? So
Yep.
you see everything that's just happened, you know, all the aftermath, the stitches, everything. You see it all. But the nurses don't really give a shit about the men. Like, they don't care.
No, they never sing.
Yeah.
They never sing about us, do they?
They like, I'm there, my hand's getting squeezed as hard as possible. I've got fans on it. I've got everything doing the thing that I need to do as a man.
Just a quick one, right? It's okay not to sing about, you know, the cat in the car, so to say. You know, like who realistically, what is that compared to the driver, the one that gets you to the destination? But then again, it is an experience.
Again,
it's not something that you can just wave off and just let go. Every single time the conversation happens, every single time the story is told, it's always ignored, so to say, right? So it's important to maybe at one point be like, okay, well, you know, I get it, you're in pain, you've got a fuckload of crumps going through your body, okay, I get that. It's been told a million times though, love. It's kind of boring now, okay? We get it.
Yeah.
What about the guy that's getting his hand squeezed by the fucking power of the whole earth just falling on it? One, two, looking at that crevice and the shit that's coming out of it.
It's so crazy.
That it must be crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just thinking about that, just even discussing that, it's just, you know, nobody does.
Obviously,
nobody sings about that part of the story.
Obviously, we as humans, you know the trauma that women go through. It's not to be distinguished. You know, it is a lot that women do go through, and it is understandable. But at the same time, like squeezing the hand again, it's whatever. It doesn't really hurt. It's just one of them things.
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's
I was just
more
playing up on that idea, yeah.
But it's more about the fact, like, what you actually witness.
The weight of the earth.
In trauma, you know, like it's just. Yes, it's a happy trauma, if you can ever call it that, because I've just seen my son be born, which is a great feeling and, you know, the euphoric feeling. But the idea is after that, once they just basically shove the child into your chest and you're holding him and you're just like, what do I do with this? You know, what is this? Like, as a man, you don't have that instant, because mothers have that mother's instinct. Dads don't have a dad instincts or a father's instincts. We don't have that. We have reactions. If they fall off a chair, we can pick them up. You know, but we don't.
Of course.
And then obviously, as
we're not as emotionally connected. We're more logically sort of there. Well, not even logically. I'm not talking about wits. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about maybe survival instincts. You know, it's all about evolution at the end of the day. For a longer period of time, then we are sitting in front of a computer and have hospitals to give birth in. For a longer period of time, women had to give birth in the wild, and the dad had to go out there and fetch food. You know, that's the real evolution. That's the history. That's the time that we need to take into account. That's what really matters, right? So obviously evolution matters here, because one, the mother's love can only be given to the womanly figure. And I'm not even talking about sex change here. I am only talking about woman at birth. That is realistically the only. That's the womanly, the motherly, the mother. That's only, you can't relate that to as a man. Yes, you can have, you know, you can have feelings towards other people. You can get emotionally connected and whatnot. I'm not disputing that, but what I am saying is that it does matter to put into the perspective of the majority of us on this planet as a species. We have been taken care of responsibilities, right? Now those responsibilities are a little bit upside down and turned on its head. You're walking with your fucking, you know, backwards. Things are crazy nowadays, and that's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad, but it is exactly what it is. It's different. Yeah. And it's a small amount of time. It's only been ever happening for how long? You know, 100, 200, 300, 400 years. It doesn't matter. Make it 5,000 years, but that's probably not. How long is? That's another topic. Not very good with my facts, but we can pull that up. How long is the the Homo sapiens been around, walking around the planet? Right. That's what we need to take into account. The evolution period, and I have not been sitting in front of a PC for the entirety and the entire history of the human race. and we've not been in hospitals for that long period either. So you know, with that, and to bring it back to what you said, yes, of course, you're not going to have that when the baby's put into your arms. You're in this hospital. You're not going to know what to do, as an instinct, as a you know, primal instinct. You're going to be thinking, you know, protect. Absolutely, don't drop the baby. Great, but you're not, you know, going to put it against your cheeks, your face. Maybe you are. Maybe some dads do that, but I'm not saying they don't. But for the most part, that's the parts of your brain that you're going to experience more as that motherly figure.
Yeah, for sure.
More so than the father.
And as a father, you know, it is more about a protective instinct. You know, it's the same whenever somebody comes, you know, say for example, I feel like men are very solution focused. You know, we want to fix everything that goes wrong, you know. That's just the way that we are, you know, function as humans. So when women come home and or whatever, and they're trying to discuss stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to this person." You're trying to instantly, you're going to go to like, "Well, just stop talking to her then." You know, simple solution, stop doing it. But they don't want that half the time. Half the time, they just want to vent. And I think one thing I've learned a lot of the time is ask that question prior to them saying stuff. This just goes on to something else. So, say if you're in a relationship and you know, your missus comes home and all that kind of stuff, or your boyfriend or whatever that comes home and they want to vent. I think you ask the question first: do you want to vent, or do you want a solution? And then, ideally, they tell you what they want. Like if they want a solution, then you can fix it, and if not, you just sit there and listen and be a good little boy. You know, there is that kind of thing. So
no, exactly.
You know, I think that just goes on to that point, I guess. But yeah, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent about that one question, and then it ended up being.
And I absolutely love that, you know. And this is the great thing about it, right? I never wanted this to be. This is great. Just going off of what we feel like is right, and just speaking on you know, those topics that feel right at the time.
It's easy to talk about a life example.
Absolutely,
you know, if you've gone through it.
And to bring it back, the one thing, you know, I can't relate. Holding a newborn baby, I can't relate to. You know, fucking making bitches pregnant either, and you know, that's not me. Maybe one day it will be.
Maybe,
but I'm still a bit of a, you know, this is my kingdom right now, and going out there doing that and finding the love of my life is hopefully something that's gonna eventually happen to myself. But right now, I can't relate too much to that, as much as I can relate to. The one thing that made us meet in the first place, Aiden, right? Which is video games.
Yeah,
right?
For sure, yeah.
And, you know, League of Legends, to speak in more broader terms, or less broad terms, whatever the right technical term is for that one. Obviously, we'll speak on League of Legends. I feel like we could have a whole podcast on that, and you know, speak on the depths of it. What I don't want to happen, because the name of this podcast is not a name that binds us to any single topic, any single idea, any single category. We can literally go on tangents and talk about abortion, talk about all of these things, and that's the beauty of it, right? To bring us back a little bit here. And a topic that I think a lot more people might be able to relate with at the same time is, obviously, we have had some controversy happening around certain video games, and more to do with prices of video games and what happens after the fact that when you buy those games. We'll get onto that. We'll let that marinate a little bit in that corner. Let that sink in, right? The more important thing is, you know, just in video games in general. What made you, Aiden? Let's hear. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever asked you this question, to be honest. Why do you like video games? First of all, I live in the UK. Okay, when I first met Aiden, I found it bizarre that my guy's British. And he likes video games as much as I do. Not just video games, because people like playing FIFA. Trust me, a lot of them like playing consoles in the UK. But not League of Legends. And if they do, they're rare. Okay? So what made you, what introduced you to video games?
Well, I think the first thing is, my first ever game that I remember playing, my dad was really into like strategy games himself. Like he really enjoyed You know, like trying to think of the game we used to play. There's stuff like Hogs of War. If you know it, if you don't, you had to be there. It's a PlayStation 1
I don't
console
think I
game.
do. No.
Very good game. Very strategic. Basically like Worms, but in 3D. And you're like, yeah, it's a really good game. And then
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
and then from that
Worms.
moment,
Great game.
I was into sports as a kid growing up. So I was into football, I was into everything. FIFA and all that kind of stuff was just a mainstream thing that I used to love to do. But
Yep.
I used to play it myself. But then it got to
Now that sounds more like the British side of things that I
yeah,
do know
yeah.
about.
So I used to really enjoy that, and then Call of Duty and things. I used to love Call of Duty 4, and then I kind of went off of Call of Duty ever since after World at War. I didn't think they made a good one. And then again, I was really interested in the competitive side. Like I have three brothers, you know, and
Yep.
we really, really love to be the best. You know, we like to be the best at everything.
At war, did you say?
Everything. Just we are
Oh,
very
okay, yeah, yeah.
competitive humans.
Yeah, yeah.
So if my brother was playing, for example, my oldest brother, he was like top 100 UK Halo player, basically Halo 3, and I was never good at shooting games. So I kind of just thought, okay, I'll let you have that. You know, you be good at video games on that. I'll be good at strategy games and doing other stuff. And that's when obviously I was playing loads of other different MMOs. So my biggest game I used to love playing was RuneScape. RuneScape was my game as I was growing up.
Yep.
That was the game that I
Yep.
really fascinated.
That I know about you.
Yeah.
That I know. That
Oh,
was
the-
discussed, and I like that.
MMOs, I used to love
I
them.
can kind of compare to that. At that level, I can definitely compare. Well, I can compare at the game level. I can compare at the competitive level.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know you had three brothers. There was three of you or three brothers. So
Yeah.
there's four of you.
So I've got two brothers that lived with me. So my mum's side had two brothers. So and then I have a sister from my mum's side, and then my dad's side had another. My dad had a son, so that's my other brother. So that's where the three brothers come from. And like I say, we're all
That's
kind
great.
of the same, like the same individuals that just
Yeah.
want to win. You know, that's where my competitive edge comes from, because I just love to win. Losing is not in my vocabulary. You can see that when I play League.
No, not at all. Not at all. That makes a little bit more sense why you've maybe sort of somehow transitioned onto League of Legends, right? That makes perfect. A little bit more, but obviously then that you can put it into perspective. You could put it in a much bigger perspective. There's a lot of brothers out there in the UK alone, right? I'm just talking about England here. And a lot of them can grow up to be competitive. Some of them can go towards sports. Some of them can go towards grow out of the competitive stage and never really make nothing out of it in the first place. How comes you specifically? What really is it? Because you've always been playing video games? Was it always a PC or was it more console? Which one was more? What made you stay and stick to it still to this age? Like myself, right? Because I find that fascinating and I find that fucking cool that I can relate to somebody that I've always liked to find a fellow British person out here that's not very fellow because I'm not British, but I'd like to be friends with somebody that's I've got a lot of Polish cousins and not as much friends that are not family, but I know people from all over the world that live in the UK. I'm just sort of I'm more drawn into, for some reason, different cultures within the UK, such as Indians, Chinese.
The best thing about the UK, in my opinion, is the
culture is
amount of
very
cultures.
wide.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
go to London and you'll get
like
every
that a
different
lot.
ethnicity, different languages. I think that's really a good thing.
Yeah, which is the one thing I'll miss if I ever move back to Poland. The ethnicity will be lacking. I love that part of the UK, obviously. So, what made you, with that, considering that, right? What, as a British fella, what really is because you was always on the games when ever since you were growing up.
So I was a console gamer until basically, I'd say I was a console gamer until I hit high school. Until about year 8. I don't know what grade that means for people outside of the UK. But like when I was in year 8, I think again, I basically had a very small laptop, like a Lenovo, a really terrible laptop, and I never had that satisfaction. As a kid, I didn't grow up rich, I didn't grow up poor. I grew up just right, Never really had anything fancy. It was only Christmas time when I'd get like gifts and stuff off my mum and things like that. So it was more like at Christmas I got this laptop, and then I was just fascinated with the aspect of that, you know, of gaming on that thing, playing on terrible lagging computer, you know, doing anything I can just to play a game. And I couldn't afford, for example, I couldn't afford subscriptions to like WoW as growing up. Like, I wouldn't even dare to ask my mum for £15 a month for a game that I'm gonna play, and she'd tell me where to go as well. Like, she'd be like, no chance. But
no,
the thing that obviously going on to the point of why I play League and thing, the fact that it was free was the biggest thing for me. You know, it come up free game, play this game, and obviously coming over from an MMO. I remember the first ever game I played. I remember it like I was trying to buy items and then equip the items. Can you like relate? Like,
MMOs were big when I was growing up.
Why have I got 4 long swords? Like, I've only got 2 hands. Like, you know, like, that was like,
what is this for?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I have a shoulder pad that looks like a? I don't know. I've got 2, but I've got 2 shoulders, but there's only 1 shoulder pad. Do I get another one?
Exactly.
Yeah. I can relate. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. But then it was just more the fact, like, I was just really enjoyed the strategy side of it, and again being competitive. I had a friend at the time that got me into League and was telling me about like you can get to diamond and then you can turn pro and all this kind of stuff. This is back in season 4, right? So many years ago, and I think the fact that turning pro wasn't really a big thing. It was more about the fact like I just want to be really good at this game, you know.
Yeah.
And
yes.
That was pretty much it. And then obviously I was playing sports and things like that, and I got, just to go on to that point of playing sports, I was playing football, kickboxing. I got 3rd in the world at kickboxing. In the
world of in what sense?
In the world. So when I was 14, I went to Italy. I went to Italy, Pisa, for world championships. For kickboxing, and I got kind of frauded by 2 Italians. I'll be honest with you. And I came 3rd. In the world.
Jesus Christ! The lore is going absolutely crazy. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yo, I knew you said a couple of weeks ago. Actually, this is very new information to me. Anyway, but you know, a couple of weeks ago you mentioned that you was into sports, and then you've mentioned kickboxing a week later or so. And now you're saying this. This is what?
Yeah, I used to.
So how did they fraud? What was the fraud?
I got like basically. I mean, I'm very biased, obviously. I'm against 2 Italian people. Yeah. But I felt like they were giving points that weren't points, right? So they would miss me, and because basically it was like semi-contact, so you'd hit them and get a point, you'd hit them, get a point, basically point-based scoreline, how you did at kickboxing. They would miss me with a kick, and they'd give them 3 points because they hit it, but they didn't hit it. So I felt like it was a very fraud. Even my sensei, as they call them, did agree to that point of saying, like, I feel like you were kind of cheated out of that one. But yeah, we moved on from that. And yeah, like I say, coming 3rd is a really big thing. The one regret I have was I did bin every single one of my trophies as a kid.
Yeah.
I got rid of them all because not to brag, but I had basically a room full of trophies growing up of all these kickboxing, their stuff that I used to have. I remember going into my first tournament. Not even belted. Okay, it was like an English Open tournament. I wasn't belted. I just went. Me auntie used to do kickboxing basically, and I went along with it. And the sensei said I've got a natural talent. Like, I'm pretty good because I did football. I'm quite nimble and athletic. I went in there with me basically something out of Karate Kid, where he steals the belt off somebody and gives it to me.
Right.
Basically had to do the same with me because I didn't have a belt. I wasn't belted. I wasn't official or anything.
Yeah. So, you mentioned this as well. Actually, you did.
So I stole the belt, a red belt at the time, the red one, and then I won the tournament of like 16 fights or something.
What the fuck? How many asses did you whoop?
Yeah, I think it's like a first 16. I wouldn't say 16. It's like a round of 16, right? So win, get to the final win. And then obviously won that, got the trophy for that. Then I came up to be like, obviously like invitational to like Judgment Day is what it was called. Which if you win that tournament, you go to Judgment Day. I know this is going off on tangent, like, but once you win, and then I couldn't do the Judgment Day because I broke my thumb, basically. so I couldn't defend my title. And
yeah, no, you need the thumb to kickbox.
I broke my
obviously.
thumb playing in the garden, playing
Which
cricket. This one.
Oh,
So
wait, do you use hands in kickboxing?
no, that's the funny thing is you do, yeah. But I
Yeah,
broke
you
my
do,
thumb.
okay.
I broke my thumb playing cricket with my dad in the garden.
Lovely.
So I did
As
that,
you
yeah,
do.
and I couldn't do that.
Lovely.
But yeah, so like I say about me, I did that and did kickboxing. But like I say, the competitive edge was then I used to do football as well. So I used to do football and kickboxing at the same time. So I kind of stopped kickboxing at 14. Because I didn't really want to keep because no one, I'll be honest, nobody wanted to fight me at 14 because they knew they were just going to lose. Like, not to brag anybody, that's just the way it was. So I had to fight against 18-year-olds and 19 and 20-year-olds, and it just wasn't fun to like go.
Yeah, well, it's never fun, you know. But if you're that good, then you're gonna eventually reach that stage, right?
It's just the way it was, and it just didn't. I fell out of love with kickboxing because it was just going to the dojo, fighting, going home, going to the dojo, fighting. And I just got bored of it, right?
Yeah.
So then I went into football, and I was a very, very, say myself, as a very good football player as well. So I got scouted for a bunch of teams, Vale, Stoke, things like this. As a player, and then I went into college playing football, and then I basically ruptured my ACL. So my anterior collateral ligament in my knee busted, and I've not been the same since, basically. So that kind of career-ending, broken knee.
Yeah, no, it is. Oftentimes with sports, right, it is the nightmare, the one thing that people hope for never to happen, right? It's like you said, career ending. And if it does happen, obviously at that point, what can you do? You can't fix your bones, just a video game.
No.
That leads us to another topic.
Yeah.
In video games, and you can respawn.
Yeah, but let's say I think the point of what I was trying to say, I know a bit tangenty, but because I wasn't able to do sports,
you keep going, bro.
Because I wasn't able to play sport to be competitive, I that's what my source of competitiveness was. It was gaming.
Yeah.
It was League. It was being good at something that I can dedicate something to, because I can no longer do the things that I used to love.
You couldn't do it because of the injury and obviously other factors like the age gap and things like that.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
So that just ended up being League was my scapegoat. Like I loved being. I'm a very competitive person myself. So the fact like I got League and I actually was able to grow on playing that game and actually being really good and very specific to that game. I feel like that was my calling in the end. That's why I ended up playing video games for as long as I have done and why I keep playing them.
Yeah. And that's great. That's beautiful in a way.
I mean, for you though,
I can't relate much when it comes to the sport part of it.
Yeah.
But before I go on to that, I'd actually like to do another quick fire round. What are you saying?
Yeah, we can do a quick fire round if anyone's got any quick questions. I'm sure.
Quick fire round, real quick. I've got a couple of here that I wanted to answer.
Yeah. We'll start the timer now.
Love it. So, quick fire round for those that just joined is it's the only time that I ever read the chat during this podcast. We are doing an unplugged podcast for those people that have joined, and I've got a couple of questions actually for some reason on my stream instead of the real podcast stream. So make sure you click the link on the pinned comment. If you are watching my stream, make sure there's 0 views. Make sure you leave my stream and join Aiden's stream, because that's the real experience. Now, the couple of questions here, quick fire round. The only time we get to answer questions is why is Dom obviously not doing this? I thought it was going to also be on Dom's, so I can't share my camera for the dual stream, and I can't also use the same camera for the other stream. You can't use the same camera for 2 different sources, right? So I can't do that. So we're only going to have to do it on one thing. And the second question was why we're not doing this on YouTube, because we fucked up a little bit. YouTube gave us a 24 hours before you can actually stream, and we only did that today. Verification, exactly. So next time we're going to do a podcast, it's going to be on YouTube. Right now, I'm only live to introduce you to people that come to the stream, but please go and click on my pinned link and go to that screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Like I say, the YouTube was, I didn't really know. I've never streamed on YouTube before. So when I tried to click start broadcast, it was telling me I needed to get authorization and verification for it. Just a couple of questions that are in here. I know it's a quick fire round. That's
That was a
grief.
very long minute.
It wasn't.
But
No, I did
to be
restart
honest,
it. I restarted it.
oh, did you? I think in quick fire round, we need to just read out questions and then we can discuss them off quick fire round. I think that's a great way
Yeah,
of
after,
approaching
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
read out the questions that we want to address after we read them out and the quick fire round is over. We can even make
Go
like
into
the
it.
20 seconds. Make it 20 seconds quick fire round. Pick out the questions and then you can go into it and really
True.
discuss it.
That's what's a good thing about the podcast at the same time. Is like we are learning at the same time. I think what's best for us and how we're doing it as well. I think that's a good idea to do that. Another question which was also on here, I'll just quickly go into it. Let's have a look. I did find it. No, I think it's gone. What other secrets do I hide? Yeah, that's it. I got quite a few, and I think it's more like, isn't it more that men have protective instincts? I think that goes on to the previous conversation we were talking about obviously mother's intuition and things like that. And how does and how and was that how it was for you? I think that's specific to me kind of question. But yeah, it's a very true question. I do think, just to answer that quickly, trying to remember that one. Yeah, I do think men do have the protective one. I think I did answer it as well, and it was exactly like that. Satisfiable, yeah. So that's just how it was.
Lovely.
Okay, so let's go on to the next idea. Yeah, so I think again, what do we will go on to it now about people buying and feeding obviously the greedy market we call gaming and these big listed games. You have more of an opinion about this because, like, say, you're more of a
On
variety.
a specific game.
Yeah, on specifics.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you should go.
And obviously we can discuss on a more wider topic when it comes to every video game and compare that to the when we was like 12 years old and the difference between now and then buying video games for the prices that they are now and they used to be. But yeah, just to speak on the greediness on the studios and the big triple A title companies. Apparently that's now quadruple A, believe it or not.
Quadruple.
That's now. Did you hear that? Did you hear that new
No,
thing?
no.
And so this is now like a meme. It's not even a meme, bro. It's apparently an official statement from somebody. I don't know. I don't want to like, just for the sake of finishing this conversation, I will say maybe the CEO of Bethesda. It wasn't. I know it wasn't.
Yeah.
But let's say fucking that guy said, actually, we are. Oh no, it wasn't. It was the people that created Skull and Bones. Who is it's not, is it EA? But EA has bought this studio as well. It's a sub studio owned by EA, and it created Skull and Bones. If you know, you know. The CEO or like very high position sort of person in that
Ubisoft.
said, Ubisoft, that's it. They said, listen, Skull and Bones is not a triple A title game. It's a quadruple A title game. And that's why we have our reasons, right? We can even pull up the article just for the sake of accuracy, because I'm just throwing out the hearsay here right now, right?
Yeah.
Ubisoft says about
Skull and Bones.
quadruple A title games. So Ubisoft says that despite the live service elements featured in Skull and Bones, it's a quadruple A game, and that's why it's priced at $70 for the base version. Skull and Bones launches on Xbox Series XS next week with a price tag of $70 for its standard edition. Now, if you'd like to obviously see that, you can I'll send it to Aiden. He can put it in the on the screen just real quick for anybody that would like a reference, for the sake of the podcast, obviously.
Yep.
But with that said, obviously that's one, and that's just a little example, right? So games have liberties, apparently. Studios, not games, and I'm not even talking about developers here as much, right? Because realistically, a developer is there to create the game. They're there to make the game playable. They put in their sweat, time, and passion into making that game work and deliver it. Who are the people that decide? for some time for a game to be released, and this game is called Dragon's Dogma 2.
Let's get into that one.
Now, Dragon's Dogma 2 has been probably teased from, at least in my world, from my perspective, for at least, I don't know, I want to say maybe 5 months now. I've been hearing about it, but it's been so much longer than that. I've never heard about Dragon's Dogma 1. For those people that don't know, it's a open world role-playing RPG style game where you take a quest and you explore the world, conquer monsters and whatnot. It's different than any other, compared to Skyrim. A lot of people know Skyrim, right? Think of that, but not really. Think of World Hunter.
Yeah.
And Skyrim mixed together into one, kind of, right? But not really. I don't, for one, I want to just mention this. I don't like watching trailers for anything, for movies, for games. I don't like to see a lot of footage before I play something. And because of that, I've played a lot of games that I don't like. Because of that, I've bought a lot of games that I never really got into, and I spent the money. And, it's a silly tactic, but I don't know what it is about me. I just find it that I'm all about first impressions.
Yeah.
That's important to me. Now, with Dragon's Dogma 2, to bring it back to the actual topic here in terms of greedy studios and publishers, they have done something that I don't think, or at least from my experience, I haven't seen a game do yet.
Okay.
They have been plugging and publishing the shit out of Dragon's Dogma 2. They've been advertising it, they've been promoting it. A lot of people, there's been a lot of hype, there's been so much talk, there's been content creators such as the likes of Asmongold, people pushing for this sort of thing to become what it is. And obviously some of them are getting paid, sponsored to do this. Now, they may have reasons to push for and endorse a video game. Big word, right? Endorsement of a video game is something that somebody that gets sponsored to do it will do. They will do exactly that. Endorse the video game.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't say that those people will. Would you say endorsement is endorsing the entire video game in its entirety? You're talking about what services you can purchase, what you can do in that video game, the mechanics, the everything, gameplay, everything that the game has to offer? Or would you speak of endorsement only standing behind the things that you enjoy about the game? For instance, you can be sponsored to play League of Legends and you relate to yourself as, sure, I'm sponsoring it, but I'm only really endorsing the idea of top lane and keeping to this meta because I don't like tank meta. Right? You don't want to endorse tank meta, but if you play the video game in general and thousands of people watch you, you will endorse every aspect of that game, no matter what it might be.
I do agree with that. I do agree with the, if you're playing a game, I feel like, I mean, I don't know if about yourself, but for me, obviously you see like Streamlabs, all that will kind of send you an email saying like, oh, do the sponsor for this. And for example, Raid Shadow Legends, like, come on, like everyone gets that idea. And it's like, I think you're included, that I wouldn't play or endorse something that I wouldn't do myself, right? I wouldn't play something that I wouldn't find enjoyable. For example, for me, it's like going on to that point that we wanted to talk about gambling. How many people will like give you, well, I don't know if it's the same on Twitch anymore, but it used to have like people like stake things, like if you put my name of £20 or whatever, you'll get so much starting. And it's like, I would never have that. Even if they offered a lot of money to do so, it's like, why would you want to endorse that for somebody to get addicted to, to gambling, which is life-changing and things like that? I get what you're saying on the term of endorsing for gaming. Like, I think it's a really cheap way of promoting a game, in my opinion.
From what perspective? From the person that does promote it?
Yeah,
a content creator. Like if he was offered to do it, or what
do you
mean?
Asmongold is very good at it, is in terms of like he gets the game, he plays the game, but he gives his real honest opinion, and he won't take on the endorsement if he's not allowed his real opinion.
Yeah.
And I think again,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's completely fine to send somebody a game to try out on stream and to give your honest opinion about. But if you get terms and conditions that mean
But that's why they do it, because they get his
real
real
opinion,
people.
yeah,
People like real. People like real, right?
exactly.
People smell fake by a mile.
But if someone sends you the endorse to do this, and then you're like, oh, but you're not allowed to say anything about it. We can only talk about only the good things. Then that's the problem, because you're not
Mm,
giving a true reflection of how you feel about the game.
yeah. No, exactly. And people are gonna catch on eventually, right?
Yeah.
People eventually are going to be like, oh, I'll watch this guy. He's promoting this game. And then you start watching him 20 minutes into the video, or, the second stream you watch, the third, fourth stream you watch, you start realizing, hold on, he's not really standing for the values that I really respect, or like I look for in a streamer, or like a sponsor streamer, or maybe whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Because people watch Asmongold, just some people watch him just for the games that he gets to his hands on, or the games that he gets to advertise. The sponsorship is the reason for that, right?
Yeah.
To sponsor a game that nobody else would hear about unless they watch it through content creators. The market right now is views, in my opinion, right? We can get onto this and streaming services and how the world has slowly going away from these short clips is one thing, but long clips is another thing. We are no longer in a 10-minute clip world of content.
Yeah.
10-minute clips are gone. When was the last time you've seen a 10-minute video? If I watch a video on YouTube, it's either going to be 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour long, or I'm going to watch a 5-second TikTok. There's no in between no more. We've gone past that for some reason. It's gone from live streams, hours of footage, to 7 seconds. Scroll, 7 seconds, scroll. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe we like the constant entertainment, because feed, 7 seconds after 20 TikToks turns into a good few minutes. It turns into a few hours. Same thing does with streaming. Same thing happens with streaming, right? So maybe it is the long term that our eyes are a little bit drawn into, whereas back in the day, maybe we was like, next episode tomorrow, I guess I'll go outside and kick my ball around and pet my dog, right? Nowadays it's a bit different. The market is out there. It's selling attention. It's demanding, attention. It's buying attention, and we are the market. We are the current currency. Yeah. It's your click. That's the currency, right? And going back to, of course, Dragon Dogma, and the point I would like to make about it is just a very quick point. It was released. And then when it was released, only then does everybody find out, whether you pre-ordered it, whether you bought it on the day, whether you're playing it for 3 hours, and then you find out all of a sudden, what is this? I can't fast travel. I can't do all of these little features like, I don't know, change my hairstyle. Why? Because you need to purchase microtransactions. I don't know if ever, but in my world experience has been introduced in a single world game to do things that you should have to start off with. It's not needed to finish the game. There is the argument is, the game, I am not arguing for the game being bad. I think the game looks great. Graphics, physically, gameplay, the story lore, it looks fucking amazing. I know people that have like 160 hours on it already, people that have finished the game already.
Yeah.
Came out on Thursday night. Where are we? Tuesday. So, people have been loving this. Some people refunded it for the sake of, oh shit, I don't want to, spend that. Maybe like me, maybe I've taken some people's opinions on this as my sort of thing that I'm trying to focus on a little bit too much. Maybe I'm being blinded by other people's reviews and opinions on this. And realistically, that's a lot of people nowadays. But I will say something that I am absolutely, I'm vivid about. That spending money on the game that does not deliver its price value to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know the price of it is like 55, 60 pounds, right? And I don't know what that is in euros, like 70 euros. And I feel like if you're paying that much for a game, the minimum you should be allowed to do is fast
What do you
travel.
mean, my right? What the fuck? I live in the UK.
Eh?
I live in the UK. I pay pounds, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I'm saying like for people like Katrina and things like that that come into the chat and Veggie.
I thought you were talking to me.
I am. I'm very nice.
The man lives in Poland. Hello, I speak from Polska land.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah,
I
I
think
get you.
again, I think microtransactions have ruined games in lots of ways. I think I don't mind people having cosmetic microtransactions. Like people can buy cosmetic things and whatever. Yeah, it doesn't have any.
Cosmetic is fine.
Yeah,
Cosmetic,
yeah, yeah.
sure. Throw in
But if you're
priced cosmetic.
buying something for an advantage or over the other people, like
Yeah.
for a competitive value, I think again that's just defeats the object of playing the game. Like, why would I go and grind for 3 hours for a specific sword, for example, in World of Warcraft, if I could just buy it from the store?
Yeah.
And it only like again, it goes on to another question about the fact like we are working society gamers now that with 12 years of age that have the time and everything to play these games and grind. They're slowly dying out, right? And the older generation are here who do work, that have the money and spare income to try and skip a few levels above these grinders, that have the time. Because let's be honest, you work full time, and if you want to play a game, you don't want to spend 4 hours doing mundane stuff. If you do the flip side of it. So if you could just bypass something because you have the money, you've earned this money, you've worked really hard to at your job to get the extra income, just to skip the 4 hours of mundane stuff. Do you not think that should be kind of acceptable, or do you think again that's a no-go? That's a question to you.
I don't know. Could you say that again? Sorry, I was just typing to the chat.
Yeah, it's fine. So it's more like for someone, I like I say, I think when we were 12 years of age, for example, we were able to grind games and keep playing and playing and playing because we didn't really have any responsibilities. We didn't need to think about finances or money because, live at home with your parents. Still do now, but the idea is,
Of course, yep.
It's like as you get older, you work at a job. You work at your job for 40 hours a week, for example, 37 and a half, and you have extra income. Would you not be, because you don't have the time, because you work so much, would you not think it's acceptable to bypass, because you've earned money, 4 hours worth of grinding for the sake of a price, because you've worked hard at your job to get that money, because you're not 12 years old, you do have responsibilities.
Yep.
So again, I that's the double end of it, right?
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. I like that point, actually.
What do you
I like
think?
that a lot. I'd like to expand on that. Yeah. So my understanding of the point, which I don't know if I like my understanding of it more than your question of it. But I'll just say it out loud so that we're on the same page, right? I like the idea of what you just said and where it took me. And where it took me is games are fairly new. It's our generation thing. It's less so our dad's generation. Sure, there was arcade games that he could go into in a big building and play arcade games, and Duke Nukem and things like that. Mario on an arcade big thing appliance. But video games retrospectively, I don't even know what that word means, but it sounds cool in this topic. It's the right. I don't know where I was going. Retrospectively, I don't know. I lost myself now. But
you're so happy with the respectively word in the right sentence and the right face, like you've lost your trail of thought. Let's get back onto what the topic was. I'll explain that again. What I mean.
Yes. I got you. Yes. I feel like, because it's a new thing within our generation, back in the day it was cheaper. Now they have like the sort of they have the it's so much easier to have an excuse of yes, but those people that used to buy it for cheaper now buy it for more expensive. Okay. Now the reason for that might be because things change, obviously. You could blame it on anything. You could blame it on literally anything. The jobs are paid more, so you need to earn more. You could blame it on inflation, housing cost, anything, right? But I feel like what you said is I like that point, is that at the start of it, it was cheap because everything's cheap at the start.
Yeah.
The better it gets and the longer it gets more expensive. And even more so, at the start of it, those people were using their dad's money, to buy video games. I was to buy all of the Call of Duties, all of those games.
And
right?
to that point,
And then
though,
I
if
grew
you
up and I
couldn't
got my own
afford,
job.
yeah, if you couldn't
Yeah.
afford that, you could go to Blockbusters and get a game, rent a game for a week. I don't know if you did that, but you could do that. You could literally, a brand new release, you could go to Blockbusters for like £10 because obviously money was scarce even back then for people. So it's like, instead of buying the full game, because you could literally go to Blockbusters, rent it for a week, complete it in a week, and give it back. That was the thing back in the day that you could do.
I never did that. I wish I did,
Yeah, 'cause that's why I used
wish
to
I did that.
drill games out as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I'd try my best to complete it within the week time frame, because if I don't complete it,
Maybe that's why every game is like online nowadays and microtransactions, and it's it pays the company more the more you play it. Whereas if you bought a single player game, that's it. You at the point of entry to the store, that's the last time they're going to earn money off of you.
Yeah,
I'm talking about those sort of games, right?
You got things like battle passes nowadays, though, which every
It makes
single
sense.
game has battle
It makes
passes.
sense. These things, I get it, but there's no point. Well, maybe we live in the day of trial and error, and we are the market. We are the rabbit. We are the experiment.
But,
we are literally just getting experimented on to see the
But I
reaction
also think it's a negative point, like publishers nowadays, because they will release an unfinished game because they know everyone has internet connection, that they can update the patches and they can do things to change the game. Back before internet was really an online gaming scenario, it was more like the game had to be good on release. It had no choice but to be good. If it wasn't good, people weren't going to buy it, and then that's their income out the window. And they've spent millions, for example, or hundreds of thousands on a game that they're hoping to break even or go more. But for example, if you get a really badly edited game, bad graphics, and people just like, I'm not going to play it. So then they lose the income. But nowadays, people release unfinished games. We play it, we're like, oh, it's pretty good. And then a week later, they'll make changes to the game. They'll do patch notes. They'll do this, that, and the other to change it. So, again,
that's very true.
I think,
and some games even like think they can go away with it because they do it like Call of Duty do it all the time, by the way. They release these games, unfinished games. September is the fucking yearly mark they need to meet, and they do it. Then they release this game with a half-assed single-player game, right?
Yeah.
Everything cosmetically. Beautiful,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Whether that's a recopy of just a repainted previous year and just added a few more pixels here and there just to make it look like it's a little bit different, or bringing out a new gun here and there, whatever. But yes, absolutely, it's unfinished, and it's a lot of people have been talking about this, and eventually it's going to get there. Like even not online games, single player games, Cyberpunk, right? Big game released, hyped for a generation. I swear to God, not really, but for a long time.
No, I get it though. I get it. I mean, I have people around me that are really into that type of gaming. So, like myself, I can't relate to single player games because my competitive nature doesn't allow me to play them. Like, I really can't play games if there's no way of being competitive. So it's really good that you're the other side of the coin where you don't really mind, you can play them. But for me, I think with the Cyberpunk, it was a huge letdown for a lot of people.
It was.
And again, like for you'd play it on release, not very good. You're not going to pick it up again. Like, you're not going to play it again because of how crap it was when it got released. The thing is,
first impressions matter. Yeah,
exactly. It goes back to your point where your first thing you said about first impressions matter. The game now has been fixed with a load of bugs. It looks really good, but who really is going to go back and check on it? Really?
Yeah.
Not many people do. It's the same with No Man's Sky as well. They did the same. A horrible release.
See, I will partially disagree with that. Now I believe it's within if the developer and the developers behind the game are dedicated and they really show not remorse, but that they are sorry and they acknowledge the mistake. The Cyberpunk community has grown exponentially. It's absolutely huge now. The game is nothing compared to what it was when it first released. If you'd like to buy Cyberpunk, absolutely do. The game's always been finished in terms of lore. It never needed anything for lore, for character design, for the depth, right? It just needed to be finished.
Yeah.
It was just an unfinished gameplay wise game. It was. It's not that anymore. It's finished. It's been patched so many times. Why? Because the devs didn't give up on it, like Ubisoft would, like Call of Duty. What's that studio? Blizzard took over it.
I mean, Blizzard is a whole new story.
Yeah, it is definitely. And publishers, if they give up on it and they move on to the next thing, that's one thing. But 100%, One Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. Now, this is why I'm disagreeing with you. There's better examples out there. It's the great. I see your example of they were released shit from what they promised, absolutely not delivered. But now, beautiful. Both of those games, in their own retrospective, absolutely delivered on their own in their own worlds. It's night and day difference. Both of those great games. Now, there's games out there that have been forgotten about. I can't even think about, with the point that you just tried to make, right? The ones that were released broken and then were never patched up and fixed.
Yeah.
Despite all of the promises. And Ubisoft comes to mind. The studio behind Call of Duty comes to mind. All of these studios that are there to just make money. Like even who makes Assassin's Creed? Is it Ubisoft? It might be Ubisoft.
It might even be them. Let's have a look. I can Google it.
Yeah, and they because they're for the quick. I swear to God, I don't even know how
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, how the team has the time to release a game after year that big of a scale, and when you play it, you know exactly how, because it's what you can't see behind the closed door. You will never understand. Once you open that door, you see everything. From the outside looking in, it looks great.
Yeah.
And that's what they are amazing at. You cannot beat Ubisoft from the outside looking in. They have absolutely topped it. Once you start playing it and really getting into it, that's when you start taking it apart.
Yeah.
That's when you really start to notice, it's really not what they've sold it for is not what I'm playing right now. And that's the there's a lot of studios out there right now. That's why indie style are just cleaning it up a little bit, to be honest. Helldivers, Power World, all this love for these, Last Epoch, Path of Exile.
Yeah.
These are little indie studio, companies, and they are the ones that you should pay attention to. They are the ones that have love and real passion behind the devs want to make it. They're not doing it for the money. They're not. They're doing it because they want to. It's like when I played Minecraft with you, Aiden. I fucking love building that house. That was passion.
Yeah.
That's an indie developer. Ubisoft.
It used to be with Minecraft
played with you.
Yeah, because it used to be obviously Mojang, and then Microsoft bought it, which is no longer a small.
Yeah, and if Ubisoft played with you in that duo in the Minecraft world, they would just stack a few trees, planks on top of each other and call it a house and sell it.
Yeah.
There's a difference, right? Passion is a huge thing with everything, not just video games. Passion. If you have passion and you put your passion into something, and eventually you will be a hard worker because of it, and eventually you will be fucking good at it.
Yeah.
Just don't lose yourself in the money, because that's what a lot of people, they lose themselves in the money.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front. I mean, I'm just having a quick little research online about Cyberpunk, obviously on release. I'm having a look on the Steam about that point of what we said. And it says on here, when it got released in December of 21, sorry. There was like 63,000 negative comments about it being unfinished. And like now, then there was still over 227,000 people that were still positive about it at the same time. But again,
because they were talking about the in-depth, the lore, probably.
Exactly. But it's such a big scale. But the problem is when you release a game, in my opinion, people will take, like, say, they have their first point of view and they think, like, first, what was that word we said? Opinions matter. What was it? the kind of thing.
First perspective matters.
Something like that, yeah. So when you have the first opinion about it, as soon as you see it, and so much of the play rate just went rocketing down because they were like, we're not playing it, don't do it, and then it'll have a little bit of a jump when they get new releases, and it'll just stay low. But if they release it, first
First
impressions, that's
impressions,
correct, yeah.
yes.
So if it releases good, it will stay good, right? Until then, it will just start picking and going down. Obviously, there is a natural decline in gaming in general when the hype around it and then it goes down. But the problem with Cyberpunk, it was massive, and then it let everybody down. It comes up a little bit after the updates, but it never really gets to the point of what it should be because of the fact the release was so poor. Like, that's what the kind of point that I was trying to make as well.
No, for sure. I think we need to fire away with the quick fire round. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we can do a quick fire round. Let's quickly get to that page for us. Okay, yeah, let's wrap up these questions so we can have a look.
I'll read the first one, and you can have a look at what Justifiable says in the bigger one. So we've got I got a question: which Polish food is best, and why pierogi? Pierogi. I'm done. Up to you.
I want to know what that is.
We'll
But
have a chat.
let's have a look at this one. In future, would you guys be open to sending us game trailers, like letting them send it to us? I did answer it yes. That's so loud. For us guys to give thoughts on and react on your podcast, I think that's a very good idea. I think that's really good. And then obviously we'll go into this one as well. About what do you guys think about the fact people still buy it all? For example, if we boycotted them, would they be forced to lower the costs to a degree, or do you think we will allow them to be so predatory?
Yep, I've got a good
So let's go into what that pierogi is. How do you say it?
Pierogi.
Pierogi, yeah. What is that? Like
pierogi's it's poor Polish food when nobody had no money.
Right.
Now
what's included?
It's slowly become into an amazing tradition, which is one of my favorite foods. It's a dumpling. Okay, so it's stuffed with potatoes, fried onions, salt, pepper, and cottage cheese. White cheese, like white. I'm talking about not yellow cheese, not whatever cheese. Cottage cheese, white cheese, right?
Yeah.
Now you mix that up. That's the filling. You mix it good, give a good mixing. Potatoes, cottage cheese, onions, and salt and pepper. Give it a good mixing, and then you wrap it with like a doughy dumpling cover. You close it up, but then you boil it. You don't fry it, you boil it. So it's soft. It's soft on the outside. It's not boiled.
Beautiful.
There's nothing you can really compare that apart from it's pasta. It's the texture of it's the texture of spaghetti pasta, or like swirly pasta, but wrapped over this filling. And so a lot of people, like my friends, whenever I took them to like Poland maybe, and we was just out and about and doing whatever, and they had it. They said, I like it. It tastes good, but it's just the texture of it is weird. And I get that, because if you're not used to it, you're not going to be like on top of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another point that obviously Katrina made as well, which I didn't make it. She did state in the chat about she was at the doctor's yesterday. Parents with kids, and they gave their kids their phone for the sort of entertainment. And also, they saw a dad with a kid that had a diaper on, but was just holding the phone and scrolling TikTok and watching it. Obviously, that can go on to another point that we want to talk about, which is gaming addiction and things like that. We'll go into that later on. So stick around for that one. But onto Satisfiable, and obviously the question. What do you guys think about with people still buy it all? If we did boycott them, do you reckon they'll be forced to lower their costs so it's more affordable, or should we just be allowed to be as predatory and not have really a cap on how much they charge for the game? Like, that's an opinion. What do you think?
I mean, I guess you've obviously got the I don't know. It's. I feel like they would sell more. Is that the question? If they had if they lower their price to be less predatory, is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it's like, would they be forced, to lower their costs in terms of gaming? Because obviously right now, I feel like with every single release, like personally, it's just going up and up and up. You know, like every single release is just like 70, then it goes to 80 to 90, then you get the deluxe versions of like hundreds and
Yeah.
110s.
I honestly think they would sell more if they just kept it at a reasonable price.
Mm,
Because a lot of people, they already are boycotting it. Like I am, for instance, a little bit. But, you know, it's not a lot of people. I want to, like, sort of touch upon that question. Like, people rioting almost and
mm,
standing up as a community. No, we will not buy your game, sort of a thing, right?
mm,
And that's the community that sticks around on streams and talks to each other.
yeah.
That's such a small percentage of people who actually play the game. Do you, like, if you think about it, right? Just because it exists doesn't mean we are everything, right? We live in a world that humans are such a huge, and, or, like, I'm gonna go on a bit of a thingy here, but as a species, I strongly believe that if we see it, we then only then react to it and believe in it, right?
Yeah.
And the things that we don't see, they just cease to exist. Obviously, you need information. Information is important, and I believe we're ignoring the fact that yes, there's a lot of people that might be discussing it. The entire world might be discussing online on social media. Let's riot. Let's not buy these games.
Mm.
And when we all agree together and we do not buy the next game that comes out, I bet you that's only going to be like 20% and 80% still buys it. Why? Because
100%.
80% does not sit on social media and discuss these things. They don't even know about us discussing and boycotting and rioting. They have no idea. So they make money off of the people that are ignorant, the people that don't care, the people that are just like, fuck it, I'll buy this game. This looks cool. The people that don't sit online, the people that have, you know, less of a online persona, and they just sort of just go to the shop. Like, I bought this game, I've never heard about it, right? I went to buy some shoes in JD. They've got in JD, this is like a for the people, it's just like a sports outlet. You buy clothes there, right? At the bottom of it, there's a store called Game sells games for consoles and whatnot. This game I bought. Now, this game is a game called Callisto Protocol. I had no idea about it until I went to that store and looked at it. Why? Because if you don't know, you don't know, right? It's all about, and a lot of people are out there like this. If they see it, like, just advertised, they're like, oh, I'll buy that. They'll buy it, they play it, they'll probably finish it, and they never have one single word to say bad about it. We, as a, you know, online community, and I'm talking about every single person that is online on social media, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, everybody, we are not the majority. I don't think
Mm.
the majority is the people that you don't hear about. The majority is the people that you never they never really discuss these things. They're never gonna be in your world of let's boycott them, let's riot, let's not buy the next game. They'll still make a profit, even if every single person online agrees not to do it.
I mean, there's another
Right?
point about the fact, like, it's people, for example, like that are so fascinated with the Call of Duty franchise, right? They're happy with franchise buying. So every single year, FIFA will be released, EAFC, whatever you want to call it nowadays. And every single year, every person complains about how poor EAFC is or how bad FIFA is, but they buy it because of the fact it's the title. They don't buy it for any other means.
Mm.
So people will just
Mm-hmm.
buy it because, to be honest, I think FIFA has a monopoly on it. You know, like EA, I feel like
Yeah.
there's no other game like EAFC, for example, where they have all the teams, all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. And obviously there's like Pro Evolution Soccer, but that's just like brushed under the carpet. Like no one cares about Red City or whatever they want to call the names. Everyone just
Mm.
buys the brand of whatever it is. Like, for example, my dad, he loved Call of Duty as like the storyline of Call of Duty. He doesn't really care about online. You know, he's a different type of player. So he would buy it for the campaign, and that would be it. You know, there's people that are out there just for that point of the game. And the point that I'm trying to make is, I think people do brand purchase more than think about it. Like, I haven't played FIFA. Even me myself, I bought EAFC this year. I played it like 4 times, and I think it's terrible. Luckily for me, there's a thing which you can do with the subscription where you can pay for £15 a month and you can get all the games. I do that, you know. I never buy the game outright because, one, I don't play them that often, and it's more of like on the whim, right? I'm a whim gamer. I just play what's decent at the time. But yeah, I do agree. I do agree with your point of you know.
No, it is true. I like that point though, because there's a lot of people that just go out on the whim and just go with the majority and the big names, the big brands. Absolutely, that's a very good point.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think we should go into I do think there should be a cap personally about how much you know an organization can like a gaming publisher should be able to sell the game for. But again, it's hard to state it though, because some games cost more than others, and the production value is going to be different from one game to another game. Like Baldur's Gate, for example, how much time and effort that took to do that game, the pricing is pretty reasonable for how much effort and money they spent on making that game the way it is. And then you go on the flip side, on a game that didn't spend that much time, they could do they could be purchased like £60 and keep it at 60. That's trying to say that game's the same value as Baldur's Gate, which took a lot longer and time to do it. It's very hard to have a cap, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Who published Baldur's Gate? Developed and published by Belgian game developer Larian Studios. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah. They made.
Have you heard of them before, Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, Divinity. They did Divinity.
Divinity.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they always make really good games though. Like, and they don't mind people glitching, and they find the fun point about the glitching and doing that kind of stuff. So they don't need to bring out patch updates and things like that, because they do. Did
you hear about them perhaps more than you've heard about Blizzard, Riot Games, EA, more than Bethesda?
I would obviously say no. I wouldn't say I've heard Lawrence in that
Which
game.
is my point.
Is
kind of right. And the reason why I'm saying this, right, is look at what a company that I've never heard of can do. Can create a game beloved by so many fucking people, right? And it's only been out for how long? Now it's a game of the year, right? So it's we need to stop worshipping these big companies like, oh shit, Bethesda's making another game. It's an exclusive to I was going to say exclusive to Xbox. That's not even my point, but that's another point that we could talk about. It's a completely new idea that they've never even visited before. For instance, what are they making right now? They're doing that Marvel vampire game, which is called Blade. They're making Blade. Bethesda is making Blade. The character from Marvel, the guy that walks around with a sword, had plenty of movies, great movies, by the way, and kills vampires, right? Now, they've taken a great idea, and they're a big company. They've got, worshipping this. Oh my God, Bethesda making Blade. But is it going to be good, right? Are we going to pre-order? Are we going to buy it and be disappointed again, like with so many of those triple, quadruple A title games, right? There's so many of these things that it's always gonna catch you by your toe, and you're like, oh, I'm intrigued, because they've got the name for themselves. They got enough money to advertise it. You will hear about it before you will hear about the next best game from little publishers. You've never seen a trailer for Power World. You've never seen a trailer for Subnautica. You've never seen a trailer for these little games that have been a fan favorite and exploded and are still overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, for instance, which is a very, in my opinion, good review system. So you can definitely rely on their reviews and buying games off of that, right? For instance, just even speaking more on that, Cyberpunk was very bad. If you look at Cyberpunk right now, overwhelmingly positive, right? It's looking good. And just so that I'm not chatting shit, I'm just saying things to prove my point without actually checking it, I'll check it right now.
Yeah, I've already checked it, to be fair, earlier. It's overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
It's very positive.
There you go, right? To not say things that just to prove my point. It says very positive, and that's very fucking good. Very positive is very good, in my opinion, right? So you've got these things that you need to bear in mind, because a lot of games out there we need to remember that a lot of these large companies will still be selling games for $70-$80, and the question is, should they stop? Should there be a cap, right? I personally think there won't be. The only time they're going to change their mind is once they're done with using us as these test subjects, these rabbits, these experiments, and eventually these experiments are going to fail for them because other not so majestic studios, indie studios are taking over, and people are spending money. People are spending money on these studios, and what do the big studios like? Money, right? They're not doing it for you, so eventually they're going to start putting more time. Quantity is not going to be focused on as much as quality. Quality is going to be the focus, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Some studios maybe already took that on board, and some studios are already maybe thinking about it. I honestly can't think of it. Capcom was great with all the Resident Evil remakes. Capcom is still great. Honestly, I think Capcom is still better than, Skull and Bones. And Skull and Bones, the new game, it's an online game, sure, but you can compare that to maybe like a big studio like Dragon's Dogma 2. As a game, it's a great game, but it's greedy.
Yeah.
It's a greedy big studio that has taken over the market because they're allowed, because they've got the name for it. It's like you buy a £50 shirt just because it says Gucci or Nike on it, right? You pay for the name. You don't pay for the quality. You don't.
So
Well,
quickly
shirts,
go into this. I just need to quickly go to the toilet. So you keep going talking,
Definitely.
keep going for it, but I will be back in a second.
Absolutely. I actually need to go to the toilet as well. Can I come with you?
Oh yeah, of course.
I'll come with you. I'll come back. I'll go when you come back. And I think that's the sort of point that I'm trying to make, is that people almost pay for the brand as if it's you pay because they made it, right? Fuck yeah, they made another game, I'll buy it. Right, it's EA, another FIFA. Fuck it, let me spend another 60 quid on it. I spent 40 quid when I was a kid. 40 quid, I remember this. £40 I've put on Call of Duty. 40 quid is how much I used to play for Call of Duty World at War. Now, for that same game, I'll be paying 60 quid. Obviously, years have gone by, like 10 years. Sure, I get it. Things do change, but you can't charge more for a game that's at a lesser quality. That's what I don't agree with. Please, I will give you 80 quid. I don't care. I'll pay 100. Give me what I want. Give me what I deserve. Give me the worth of my money. If I'm paying £100 for a game, you best fucking believe that shit must be presented on the Oscars, bro. I want Leonardo DiCaprio, okay, to present the next Call of Duty as the winner, the nominated game. I don't care. If I'm paying that much money, it best be up there, right? Because I pay for the quality, right? I'm not paying because, all of a sudden we can charge this much, because why not? Everybody else is doing it, and go down on the quality of the game. What is that, right? I paid, what, £40 for Helldivers 2, and I've had more fun with that than I will ever have with any. £54 for Dragon's Dogma. That's a reasonable price. Obviously, then we could discuss the microtransactions, which is a whole another thing in itself. Now, that's where the money's at. And just to go back on the actual thing that we've had before, in terms of even the idea of games and studios and companies do not like to release a one purchase product. They don't want the one time purchase to be done and dusted, right? They want to keep making money off of the same person. Makes sense, right? It's at the end of the day, that's where the money, everybody gets better at making money, and shit like this improves as we go. And companies, they know what they're doing. But eventually, people are going to get a little bit sad about it and disappointed with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can go to the toilet now if you need to go. But I just said,
nice one.
Taking on to that point of the prices and things like that of games. I mean, yeah, I feel like the problem that we have nowadays, you're paying £40 to £50 for the game, but then you have to unlock the Game Pass. You have to unlock other things that that again add up over the year.
Yeah.
So there's like different problems with that causes. So you've got you do spend £60 on the game, that comes in, you're happy with it. It's like, oh yeah, but what you could have is this, and there's an extra £60 or an extra like £15 a month from you that goes into other types of rewards that you can't get if you don't get this other thing. And if you're a gamer and you do want to have the best and you want to be as efficient as possible, and you're kind of forced into getting this purchase, because you're getting a lot of other rewards. And again, if you don't get these rewards, it's just a sad, it's just a sad thing, really. I mean, every single game that you play now, League, Dota, I don't know about Dota to be fair, but League, you've got Fortnite, you've got all these other types of games that just completely just give you a reason to spend more money. You might have free in the title, but you don't feel as if it's a free game when you're spending so much on different things. Like I say, battle passes and stuff like that. I mean, you can play League for free, and you can, um, but it is what you see. Best games are the ones that you hear about through word of mouth rather than constant advertisements. Like, again, I do agree with that.
I agree.
Statement. I do agree with that statement. That's why I said it out loud. Word of mouth. I mean, for example, being advised, I was struggling to think about what game to play other than League, because obviously when you play League so often, it kind of fries your brain. You just don't really want to play it that much. You get burnt out from games. Everyone goes through that momentum of being burnt out. And I know I was playing Genshin Impact, and obviously I've had negative thoughts about Genshin Impact. A whole point of playing Genshin, before even playing the game, word of everybody else online is it's a gacha game. It's you have to spend so much money. You have to do this. You have to do that. And I can honestly say from playing the game, like, I've not spent a single pound or anything into this game. That looks banging whenever you're eating, by the way. I've not spent a single dime, anything on this game, and I've had pretty much the most fun I've had on an MMO for a very long time. Onto that point of word of mouth, I think it's very important that things for me, and I think a lot of people like to play games together as a social event. You want to play with your friends when you're playing these type of games. So word of mouth is very important. What do you think about that?
I think yes. And you know what? I was thinking, word of mouth, not even of mouth, of like just typed up comment. Sometimes I go to YouTube, I watch videos, and I will scroll down when it's like, I don't know, the best games. Let's say the title of the video is the best games of 23. And I will scroll down, and I will value the comments more than I will the video sometimes. I will go down and I will look at the comments, and I think it's I don't know what it is, but it's one of the most successful things in my eyes. The liked system it's not like biased. It's actually it seems genuine a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I would like the comments that I read. Like it's a very successful system behind like the liked comments on a lot of like YouTube, for instance, is very successful in my opinion. I really like the ones that I see on the top. And when I look at them, it's almost I treat them as like a very word of mouth, like a good recommendation. In a video like best games of 23, I'll scroll down. A game that's gonna be mentioned in the comments that's not even in the video, or maybe somebody's gonna praise a video game that's in the video, and people like that, and I'm like, oh shit, let me check that out instead. And that's how I got onto Subnautica, for instance, right? Subnautica, I keep mentioning this. I keep like, even on my streams, whenever I stream, sometimes I even talk about it. Subnautica, in my honest opinion, is one of the best games I've ever played in my life, and that game will stay with me forever.
Big stay,
right? Absolutely, it's the biggest indie studio, small company game that created it, right? But I honestly believe it's got the element of everything you need in a video game. It's got the element of the unknown, so it draws you in like, oh shit, what is this? Right? It's got this sort of lore factor behind it, so you get drawn into the actual story of it as well. And then you've got the everything's fun until the shit hits the fan, and then I'm not gonna spoil anything. But the game is like a thriller almost. Like, oh, what's just happened? You have no idea what's going on, and it just takes you by your balls and it just pulls you, and it doesn't stop, bro.
I don't know if I like the idea of being dragged by my balls, to be honest with you.
across fucking spiky concrete floor, bro.
Jesus Christ.
Butt naked.
It's true. Well, let's go on to another point about the gaming then. Like, I think it's only been recent, like decade or so, is addiction within the gaming community. And I feel like again, it's another source of problems for gaming, because there's a
Mm.
lot of games that have like gambling elements in it. You know, like loot boxes. There's a lot of stuff like I'm trying to think of the other game, FIFA, for example,
Addiction,
with the packs.
addiction,
Yeah,
right?
it's addiction, but I'm on about like they get addicted to the idea of getting better. So obviously loot boxes, there's card opening,
Getting
there's
or
things
getting
like that.
better at the game.
Getting better at the game. There's quick fixes to getting better. Like like what do you feel about the general
I
situation?
personally, personally speaking from personal experience, I chase the high, and
Mm,
I'm not even taking drugs, bro. Right? I'm talking about video games here, guys. I chase the high of wanting that new Subnautica experience. I want to see and experience it again.
yeah.
That's I'm addicted to that. That's my addiction in video games, right? I'm not addicted to a singular like, I'm addicted in League of Legends in terms of like maybe carrying a game, maybe hitting a rank that I haven't had for a while, or peaking in a rank competitively, things like that. But in general, me as a gamer, I've been playing games since I was a very, very young lad, okay?
Mm,
And I've loved them. It's one of my passions, right? It's one of my biggest hobbies. And as well as cinematography, right? And I like when that's combined with video games. So I'm a big character builder, big lore builder in video games. I like that
mm.
aspect. So I chase that high. I look for it. And to me that's addiction, in a way, because it's not healthy. Because I can stay here and I can spend hundreds of pounds on games, and I can spend hours of my time playing those games until I eventually maybe give up, or I reach that high that I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a
It's
personal experience with the gaming before it was even really a thing. That of a gaming addiction. Because the problem is, I think everyone can relate to this statement. It's like if you buy, for example, you play League, it's a free game. You don't need to do that. You'll get people obviously stating about other stuff, and like my chasing, what I used to do was say like, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not going out. I'm not spending money. You know, and then that would be my argument. It's like, yeah, people are addicted to actual like physical drugs. So people are addicted to alcohol, and that costs them money and their physical well-being and things like that for sure. And I feel like myself, I was going through a gaming addiction. Like right now, I wouldn't say I'm addicted because I don't. I can play and I can not play. Right, I can go days without playing League, for example.
Yep.
Before, when I was about 18, 19, my relationship with someone I was with for 4 years broke. I was never interested in my job because I was never turning up, because I was sleeping in till God knows what time, like, because I was playing 12, 14 hours of gaming non-stop, completely game after game after game playing. I was not eating properly,
Yeah.
going to a self, like, literally, this was like before it was even really a thing. Like, I was going through this thing, and my argument was, I've got no money to go out. So what am I
Mm.
going to do? I'm going to stay in and not spend money. But
Ah,
what you got
there it
to what you
is.
got to think about is time is money. But
Yep.
your mind doesn't think like that, though. Your mind doesn't
No.
think like, I could be doing something way better with my time than playing this game right now.
The minds that do think like that, they're rich.
Yeah. So it was, I lost everything at that time, and obviously you go into a deep cesspool of like depression and stuff. Obviously, we're not going to go into that today. But the idea is, it's like you go into the cesspool and your mind is made up that you're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
You're not doing a bad thing. But the idea is you are technically doing a really detrimental thing to you, yourself, and the people around you that just want to support you, when all you're doing is ignoring everybody else and focusing on your own selfish needs of getting that high, like you talk about, of getting that
Yeah.
rank win, getting that feeling of, because when everything around you, everyone's just shouting at you because you're not doing well in life, but you're doing well in your video game. You got a sense of pride in yourself, because
And you want to show it off,
yeah,
right?
and
And
nobody
we live in a
around
day
you,
and age that we can.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
and everyone around you is like say giving you,
mm,
not, you don't feel welcome, shall we say?
they're not going to appreciate you.
Exactly,
People behind your door in your living room, they're not going to know what you've just achieved.
exactly.
It's a whole different world. Speaking on what you don't see, you don't understand. Again, like the massive fundamental flaw of humans that I believe in, is forever like going to be brought up by myself, because what you don't see will forever be either biting you in the ass or other people around you, and
Yeah.
it's sad. But with addiction and with video games, you can absolutely compare those. I don't maybe compare, when you've mentioned that and I'm not addicted to League of Legends. I don't see myself needing to log in to play the video game. Yes, and some people are, and some people are. But from my perspective, I relate with you, Aiden, because I will say, I'm not addicted to League of Legends, but I'm addicted to the idea of playing a video game and being immersed. I love the feeling of immersion. That's what I'm addicted in. Keep chasing that high, so to say. And some people may be addicted to which I won't even say that yet. And because I'm addicted to immersion and video games and chasing that high of the next game, I will spend more and more money, and therefore addiction now translates to it could be a gambling addiction, it could be a drug addiction, it could be a gaming addiction. In my experience, it's the same. Why? Because it spends money and time, and those are the two things I have very little of, okay, personally, okay. So those two things I shouldn't be throwing about, I shouldn't be. And I said that, right? And you could look at my surrounding and obviously my room, and because I have a lot of passion for my hobbies, and my hobbies are the most important thing to me in my life. So time well spent, and this is on the other hand of video games and how bad they are for you. This is on the other hand, this is the good part. Time well spent is great, is good time, in my opinion. So whatever you might be doing, time well spent is good time. Now, ever since I've been streaming, that has the chasing the high of the video games has sort of left the window a little bit, because I can always substitute it with the love I have for the streaming and for the entertainment value and how much I enjoy doing that. That overwhelms the. I'd still like to find a video game that I'm looking for to play forever, like Subnautica, absolutely. But I can substitute that with the love that I have for this, what I'm doing right now. No matter if there's 1 million people watching, 1,000 people, or 2 people watching, it doesn't matter, because this is what I like to do. This is my passion. Now, going back to, I don't have much money or time, you could say, surely you have money, Dom. Look at your fucking surrounding. Yes, absolutely. I have put a fuckload of money into what this room might look like, but that's because this is directly connected with my hobbies. I could spend as much money as I have on this room and what you can see in it and what you can't see in it on a car, right? I could spend it on a holiday 3 or 4 times a year. I could spend it on my girlfriend that does not exist. I could spend it on my clothes. I could spend it on anything. Hobbies. My hobbies is this. My hobbies is video gaming. My hobbies is entertainment. Those two things.
That goes on to the hobbies, actually, to be fair. I have something about that. Keep going, though. Get your point across.
Yeah, no, to be honest, to wrap it up, if anything, I am a strong believer of, when it comes to doing what you love, is any time well spent is good time. So it doesn't matter if your parents or your brother or somebody's sitting on the other side of the door and in the living room and thinking, what's the achievement that you're raving on about? Because in your head it's time well spent. And nowadays you can share that with a community of people that you don't know anything about until you do, and you become friends and family.
Exactly. And I think, again, it goes on to the hobbies question, because I find, like, I know you, like, when it comes to like relationships and things like that, the one biggest problem that I found with trying to find somebody that I want to be in a relationship with is active. My first one of the questions that I would ask is, what are their hobbies? Like, the first thing I want to know, because one thing I used to hate about dating and a relationship and things like that is when they say things so generic, like, I like to go out with my friends and spend time with family. It's a no from me. Instantly, it's a no from me, because
who says that?
If you're meeting somebody, like you're chatting to someone, they say, well, what are your hobbies? Oh, I like to meet friends and that. Again, it's just not for me, because it's like, you need to do something else. I was speaking to somebody the other day about finding your own inner happiness, right? You got to find because you can't rely on meeting your friends to make you happy, because if your friends are busy, you're never going to be happy.
Yes.
And with today's society, everybody's working 24/7. You're not going
Yep.
to find the time to go and meet them, and that's just the way it
Yep.
is. You've got to find things for yourself. For me, if they tell me that their hobbies are going out and their hobbies are doing this, I think you're like 18 years of age. If your enjoyment is going out getting drunk every weekend, it's not for me. Again, I'm 28 now anyway, so
It's not realistic, is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. And another point is, if I know that they're saying my hobby is going out with my friends, it ends up you becoming her friend, and then you become her hobby. Do you see what I mean? So then she ends up annoying the shit out of you, wanting all your attention,
and then it's a toxic relationship because
and
you
it ends up
rely on one another.
Yeah, she ends up relying on you, and you like.
There's no hobbies involved. If one person's hobby is you, then they can't distract themselves if you are not working out.
And if you're not busy,
it becomes
like see
toxic.
if you become busy and you're doing your stream and you don't have freedom to do your streaming, then you end up not streaming, doing what you love because you want to make her happy. Again, it's a constant circle. It's a cycle of I want to make her happy, so I'm not going to stream, but I'm not going to be happy because I'm not streaming. Do you see what I mean? It's like a constant thing. So instantly, if a girl says to me their hobby is doing that, it's straight up no. But if they say their hobby, oh, they like to do horse riding, they like to do, they like to game, they like to do this, like it's so much more convenient and much more of like, I get that, I can understand that, and I can speak to them on that kind of level. But like I say, I've gone past
having the same hobbies matters, and
I don't know if it matters too. Like, say for I remember my ex, for example, experience. She played League.
Yeah, I see your point.
She played League, and all she wanted to do was play League with me, and I hated it because she was shit. I hated it because she was like,
"Listen, we're not gonna work out." Did you just flash fail over that
I swear to God, the amount of arguments we had because I literally told her that she was trash at the game was unbelievable. It was just, it ends up just being a whole new game.
I would pay money to see you arguing with was that your ex?
Yeah.
I would pay money to see Aiden. I love watching Aiden streams when he streams League of Legends, but the thing I would love the most, apart from the two of us talking, because I relate with my boy, right? This is why we have a podcast together. The thing I love the most is when I watch him and he flames or he becomes the angry surge, when he's like surging, and he's fuming. That's the Aiden I love. So I would pay money to literally like see the things that you say to you said to your ex about this thing, man.
It's so bad, like you say. It's one of them things. It stems from the competitive side of me. Like I can't avoid it. I think again that's why it's so relatable for people, because when you have three brothers and stuff, it's kind of engraved in your skull that you have to win everything and you're competitive with everything in life. Like, for example, we've just started playing golf, because we all were sports players and we're all this kind of stuff, but we haven't got the fitness and the able bodies that we used to have when we were teenagers, So we play golf and it's already started to be competitive. Like, why are you hitting it 240 yards? I want to go 250. Like we're always pushing each other to do better.
How often do you play golf?
We play it once a week.
Nice. Do you do like open range or do you do like Top Golf or something?
We do both because like it depends on everyone's availability, right? Because we're working people. So my brother, my older brother works. Basically has a membership for the local course here, so we can go as a 3-man to there, but at the moment it's with the winter and stuff like that, we're not able to go because the courses are a bit boggy and stuff. But we're just going to the range every week, and to be honest, it's pretty fun. I'm not very good, but I can hit it 250 yards at least, and I'm pretty happy with that.
That sounds fun. That sounds fun. Golf is something that I would vibe with because it's a social sport, right? And I'm a social person, and I like people. I like being around people, and not to give you an ick over me, but I do. One of my hobbies is going out and meeting people, right? But I at the same time don't do it for the sake of just doing that. I do it because it is the idea of speaking to a person, to me, is my hobby. It's not going out. It's not leaving my house. It's not meeting a person. It's the idea of speaking to a person and having those endorphins release in a conversation. That's my hobby, right? That's what I love, and I love it when I can do it with a person who doesn't um overthink shit and start pulling faces and change their body language, or doesn't know how to react. And I like a person that's a bit of a extroverted introvert.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one. I'm very externally introvert. Like,
That's it.
I love to.
I can't stand
Yeah,
either or.
yeah. I think for me,
Not stand. That's a bad word.
I kind of have a dark sense of humor, to be honest. And for me, I like to assess the room. So I'm very quiet at the start, and I'm like seeing what people say, like see if I can get along with them, like see if they're sick like me in the mind. And then as soon as they admit, like they say something a bit off the cuff, I'm like, I can vibe with you now. Like I get you now. You know, I can understand you.
I'm like that as well. I subconsciously even. I don't even do it because like I can be the loudest person in the room when you first meet me. But I can also be the quietest person because I may be assessing if it's their new job, I'm not going to be the loudest person because I'm going to take my time to understand people. Yeah. If I'm in a social setting where I'm probably going to see the people once, or maybe like a couple of times after that because it's a party or whatever, then I might be the loudest person. It depends on the situation, the environment, right? And it's important to me to sort of have I love people, yes, absolutely, but some people are unsociable. You cannot even interact. That's why my perfect person is a person that is homebound and is a person that's also able to spend time with people outside and speak to new people. And those two things are very important to me, right? Because I'm like that, so I'm looking for somebody that's also like that. So when I find somebody like that, I can absolutely vibe. If I find somebody that's very social and only ever goes out and only ever speaks to people, then they're a little bit weirded out by me because I'm like you said, you might want to assess your surroundings a little bit. You might want to, before you get weird, just assess them first. But sometimes I get weird straight away, and not weird, just I'm an open book, right?
Yeah.
And also, I'm not from around these, I'm not English. I'm Polish. So there might be a certain aura around me that people might not like if I'm being if I project too much of myself all at once. I could be too much, right? I could be too much. And the people that don't vibe with that are usually the people that are not introverts, right? Those are the people that are usually just extroverts. But if the people are introverts, I naturally I find myself in a social setting naturally it's like a magnet. I naturally just I'm drawn into those people because I can be weird around those people because they're weird. They usually look weird.
Weird is wonderful though.
Weird is great, but at the same time I'd like a mixture of both. That's my perfect person to vibe with, somebody that is weird and somebody that is outgoing, because that outgoingness is needed for me to be able to talk to them, and that introverted part is needed for me in order to be weird around them, right? And I need to mix those two together. With one, it gets like, oh, why are you being so much? With the other one, oh, why are you being so much? There's too much for both, and there's just enough for if they're both intertwined, sort of thing. So that's important.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. Again, I think going straight off the cuff, if you think, you can't really assess the situation if you're straight up giving them a lot of, I think like people retract, if you show your true self to a lot of people,
Absolutely, but that's important to do. I think it's important to show your true self, because if you do it, the sooner you do it, the less of a heartbreak you might go through. The less of a, you might be treated like shit, used. People might use you at your own expense, laugh at you, or these things. If you show your true self and that person does not stick around, that's great.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
And never regret that, because if they do stick around, then it will never hurt you, because you've been yourself since the start.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's easier to get over if somebody doesn't, if you spend a lot of time with them and then you show your true self and then they just leave you. I think it's more of a heartache, like you say. I think it's very true. I think we should do a quick fire question. We've got some questions.
Oh yes, please.
In the box
quick
right now.
Fire round, guys. If you ever want us to read any messages when we do these podcasts live. That's not for the people that are watching this on the VOD on YouTube, right? This is if you're watching us live. If you have questions, we are not going to be reading the questions out loud unless we are doing a quick fire round. Quick fire round, spam that shit in the chat, and once you do spam it, we'll be a little bit more lenient to do it. That's not to say that we will, because this is our Unplugged Sturge and the main podcast. What are you saying? Who do you have?
Let's have a go. So we're gonna start the timer now. So in my experience, the best games, we won't go for that one. So also, what do you guys think about the system that Paradox uses, where you buy the game and then you spend more constant expansions in form of DLC? WoW comes to mind for me, but they also added subscription for the DLC for the smaller cost each month. That's one question. And next question is, on the topic of drugs, what do you think about legalizing drugs? That's so loud. But what do you think about legalizing drugs? And on another question, do you analyze humor of people?
Which one do you want to tackle? Do you want to tackle the first one?
We'll go for the first one, which is the Paradox question about when you buy the games and spend more. What's our opinion and what do we think about that? I'll go with instantly. I always think about WoW when that question came up. I was thinking about the fact like you get you buy all the DLC for it, but I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's fine, right? I think it's okay. But I don't think when you have an added subscription for DLC for smaller costs each month, I think that's a little bit taking it for granted. I mean, I know I said WoW because all you have to do is buy the recent WoW and then you get all the expansions, right? I think, again, if you buy... The game that comes to mind is Call of Duty as well, where you buy Call of Duty and then the maps are a DLC that you have to purchase. That was the old thing that used to happen. I don't know if it's the same now. But I think that's, in my opinion, completely fine. In my opinion. What do you think?
What do you think about the system Paradoxes uses when you buy the game and have to spend more for constant expansions in form of a DLC? Okay. But they also have the added subscription for the DLC for a smaller cost each. Oh, right. I think it's great for the people that are invested in the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it builds a community better than other games would. Absolutely. I think DLCs are great because it's extra content. Who doesn't like extra content?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know for a fact if there's a promise of extra content, there's also a promise of developers that are committed and have passion and want to make more. And so therefore you're in.
Yeah.
It's not just another.
Yeah, it goes for all the people as well that have maxed it, right? So if they've completed completed the game completely, like instead of them moving on to something else, the DLC is going to keep them attached to that game which they love. I think it's only, I think it's fine. I think paying for it again, I think is completely fine. You don't, like you say, you don't have to, but you can. It's a decision. I feel like
absolutely.
I don't like the idea of people having to buy the subscription, or have to do that to get the DLC because they have to do it to continue. But I feel like if they have a choice and they don't have to, I think it's okay.
And Blizzard comes to mind, obviously, because they've got enough content to keep you going. So you can buy a subscription for years and you still won't be done with the content that they offer. But you can buy a subscription from other games and you spend, 12 months worth of subscribing and you finish the content. And you're at the end of it and you're like, what? So now am I going to get a refund for those 12 months? Because I'd like to continue, but if I keep subscribing, there's nothing else for me to do, right? So there's also that question of, is there enough content for you to constantly renew your subscriptions, right? So you need to bear that in mind. I'd say I never really do subscriptions, but if I ever was going to do a subscription, I would absolutely consider it. And I am. Let's speak of another subscription that I do all of the time. Streaming services, movies, TV series, Netflix, Disney Plus. I subscribe to all of them. Right, I'm a massive movie fanatic. I can speak about movies, TV series. I can, I go to cinema probably about 2 or 3 times a week. I watch every new release, and I never speak about this on this channel, but we can do a massive podcast. We can invite a guest that is similarly. Because obviously, maybe that's even a discussion for another stream, right? That's a great thing. Maybe a guest that we could invite onto this podcast is somebody that has a great understanding or even evolves around the TVs and movies and all of the new releases in cinema, comparing cinema to streaming services and things like that. But to speak on subscription, I think subscription in general is good for as long as there's enough content and the content that you enjoy. That's the two things that matter. Enough of it and the stuff that you like. Those are the only things they need to bear in mind. Obviously, price comes into thingy, but that depends on the person that you are, right? Some people don't care about the price, some people do. So it does depend. For me, it does, right?
Yeah, agree.
So Netflix for me has plenty of content that I can just resubscribe every month, right? And Disney Plus maybe not so. I'll unsubscribe and then resubscribe when a new series comes out.
I'm the same.
It depends.
I mean, for me, my subscription is Spotify. I buy Spotify like all the time.
That reminds me, I need to give some money to my brother because we got a family pack and he pays for it every month. And I never pay him.
On to the next one. It's the topic about you guys feel about legalizing all drugs. What do you feel? I mean, to be fair, there was a
drug question. We're getting into the spicy topic.
To be fair, there was a thing in 2022, just from looking up to it now. I'll go over to the evidence page that we have going up. Because I did some little research.
Implore people, if that's the word, please ask us the unhinged questions because this is what we're here for.
So, just from the point that I'm saying, so there's Canada did trial decriminalizing cocaine, MDMA, and a lot of other drugs, and things like that. So, if you are interested in this kind of topic, this is a good thing to look at. But I remember seeing a lot of videos about it, and I feel like it just goes really unhinged, right? There's so many problems. Yeah, so just to say, Canada has announced it will temporarily decriminalise the possession of small amounts of illicit drugs in British Columbia and BC.
And for the people that are watching me on my live stream, make sure you tune into Aiden's right now because you do not want to miss out on this. I'm going to link the stream for Aiden.
Yeah, so we're doing it to save lives and things like that. They say, from the program, it will run from the 31st to the 31st, 2026. So even now, they're in this process of legalizing pretty much like all drugs. And I remember,
hello, Hyperion.
I remember seeing a lot of questions about it, but a lot of people, like, if you genuinely go on most sites about Canada, you can see people in Toronto, I think, like that, are just like laying on the street out of it cold, and it's fine. Like, people just walk past him like it's nothing happening, Yeah. And I feel like that is such a bad thing. Like, I could never imagine. I mean, when I think about legalizing drugs in general, like in Amsterdam, I think legalizing weed and things like that, I think it's completely viable. I think it's a way that we can get economy into the UK and things like that. I feel like it should be completely fine. But these stuff which actually mess up yourself in ways like cocaine and things like that, I can honestly say hand on heart, never done anything like that. I never would either. And to be fair, I used to dabble in smoking cannabis and weed as a teenager growing up. I feel like it was just the in thing growing up. But ever since I had my child, I had a responsibility to never do that. And I had a child at 21, so I never did any drugs or anything like that to be an example to my my son. But what I think about, I think again, if it's legalized, and again, things like marijuana and weed, I do think if they are done correctly, and basically like cigarettes, I just think it could be taxed efficiently, and people would spend, and it would flourish in terms of economy. I don't know. How do you feel?
Well, I've got a very good experience to talk about with weed. It's my first ever time I got high. And it's a bit of a story time, right?
Story time with the main. We love this. Let's go.
Story time. Now, this was the first. That's a lie. The second time I've done weed when I was a kid. This was when I was 15 to 16 years old. The first time I'd done it, it never felt anything. Yeah. I didn't maybe do it properly. Obviously, we're talking about weed here. This is something that I've done in the past. It's everybody done it or still do it. If you do it, my G. Listen, so when I was about 14, 15, I was in a park, as you do, with some people that you hang out with when you was a kid, and this is the first time that it's been introduced to me. I didn't even know it was even in my group of people, and it just came out of this random guy that never really hanged out with us, and it was about three of my closest friends. So there's four of us. There was these other three people on the other side of the group of people that we was in the park with, and this is probably about nighttime, dark outside. You know, I want to say maybe like October time,
some alcohol,
dark. 11 p.m. Yeah, maybe a beer here
obviously,
and there,
yeah,
like just in a can, chilling in a park, whatever you might do when you're 14. And at some point, we wasn't discussing it. We didn't go to the park because we wanted to get high. We went to the park because this was a normal thing to do. And we got there and we were just chilling with my friends, the four of us, and the other people join us and like, I know you. And my friend starts talking to the person that he might know, and he's talking to them, and all of a sudden they're like, we got a spliff, right? Ooh. Now the question is, should we, right? Because it looks like that's an offer. We have a spliff, right? So yes, I did try it. Then it didn't hit me at all. I didn't do it right. I pulled it. I was too scared of it, and I didn't inhale it. I just blew it out straight away. And because it was going around, it was just like, I've got a spliff, but don't do all of it because I want to have some. Obviously, he was just like sharing a little bit of it, but whatever. So it never hit me. It never got me. It never got to my friends. It never hit us. That was the first experience, even if you can call it experience, right? Second experience now. This answers Laughing Man's question. Laughing Man's question was, what was the most you've ever laughed in your life, right? Laughing Man is an OG on this channel, a very a person that comes down to the stream quite often. And once again, this is probably about 6 months later, a year later at the most. I'm 16, 15 years old, and summertime, I believe, dark outside. Actually, we're doing a sleepover around my mate's house. There's the three of us, my best friends at the time. We're on Omegle, just doing Omegle shit, live chatting, just as you do. And all of a sudden, the night comes to a stale, to a dead end. We're like a bit bored. What else do we do? It's like maybe 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It's dark outside. One of my mates calls me and he says, I'm doing a sleepover as well. And it's like one of my closest mates as well. And he's with two other people. So we're like, fuck it, let's go there. And it's a bit of a trek. So we walk down the road from one end of town to the other end of town. It's about 20 minutes, and we eventually get there. But we get there quite late because he invited us to get there for about 6 o'clock. We get there, it's like 9 o'clock, so it's later, right? And we're younger, 15 years old, whatever. So one of them is already gone. One of them is high as a kite sleeping in the tub. In the bathroom, in the tub, empty, and the guy that owns the house, my mate, sleeping in his bed in his room because he's got work. He needs to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, right? Working as a postman at the time, so we just delivered newspapers all over the neighborhood. So we get there, we knock at the door, we call everybody, and it's not picking up for about 10 minutes. Eventually, my friend, the guy in the tub, comes down. A little bit less high, and he's like, hey, what's up, come in. Obviously invites us in, so we come in, and we don't know what to, like, obviously we don't think about it, like I've never seen the person high before, let alone somebody that's my friend, but obviously he's acting a bit sus, and we get in there, and we started rolling probably for about fucking 30 minutes. We started to roll like one spliff because it took us a minute to get that done, right? So obviously it's not the easiest of things to do, but eventually we get down to it and we do it, and we pass it around, and everybody has a good puff of the stuff, and at that point we're sitting down, two people on the couch and two people on the floor, me included. And I'm just like, I'm getting a bit weird, like
a bit wired,
never affected by anything in my life like that before. So we just start laughing, and I can't remember for how long, but I swear to you, we was hysterically laughing at the top of our lungs about just our faces just just going off on one, right? For about half an hour, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. It felt like either or. Honestly, it could have been either or. And at that point, my friend from upstairs, the one that in the bed who's waking up at 6 a.m. In about 7 hours from now, comes downstairs and says, "Get out." Dead face. leave out
Mm.
to all of us, we stopped laughing right there and then. Not a single smile on our faces, bro. We was dead serious.
You would have bricked it as well. Like,
Bricked it, bro. And I'm like, hi, right? So obviously I'm like, shit.
walking on clouds. Like, yeah.
Your dad's coming back. What's happening? What's happening? Tell me. And he's obviously like, I've got work. Leave. And I'm like, oh. So I'm getting up, and obviously I'm leaving. This is the main that barely speaks English at that point, right? Well, I did, but it was like broken English. So I'm like slowly leaving the house, and I get into the kitchen, and I start feeling my left shoulder getting real heavy. So I start spinning in the kitchen, and I just spin. And I just spin for like, I don't know, very fast. And I just keep going, right? And eventually, like, everybody leaves, wherever. The guy was in a tub. He stays in that house. He's allowed to sleep there. That's fine because he lives forever away. So he stays in that house. So the three of us leave the house, the original three that was at my mate's, and we start walking down this road. Now, this road is awfully long.
Mm.
We are walking down this road, and it feels like forever for us to get from one end to the other end. Now, bear in mind, it probably takes about 5 minutes from my house to his house, right? And it feels like hours. We cannot get to it. It was a weird feeling. And on top of that, now this is the bad part, right? This is where it gets bad. So this is my first experience. I started to get very thirsty, like very thirsty.
Yeah.
And that's what happens to you. That's a side effect that I didn't know about, right? You get hungry and thirsty because you really start to feel your senses in your mouth, I guess, wherever. And obviously, I need some water, but I don't realize that I need water to calm down. And then I start to freak out a little bit because I feel like my throat is closing. I feel like my skin doesn't have enough moisture in it, so it's so parched and dehydrated that it's actually sticking to one another and does not want to let go because it's so dry, and it's closing my airways. Now I'm just high. It's not actually happening.
No.
But that's what I'm thinking. I'm getting paranoid. My heart starts to beat. So I eventually get home. I tried to drink a glass of water, not enough, probably like a sip, and I probably spit it out because I'm so high, right? I should have just downed it. So I'm freaking out, and I wake up my mum. And at the time, my uncle was there, and at the time, my brother is there, at the time, my dad is there, and everybody's freaking out because I'm like, oh, God, I die, and I'm screaming that I can't breathe, and they're waking up in the middle of the night, like 1 a.m. What the fuck is going on, And they don't know I'm high, so I'm just there, like, I tell my mom I can see my grandma who passed away like a year ago, and she's like holding for me, and I can see this light, and eventually I actually pass out. This is like half an hour into this. I'm already on the bed, and people are giving me water, but I'm not drinking it. And they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" And eventually I pass out on the bed because I just have a panic attack, probably. I pass out. I wake up in the hospital. 2 of my friends still there. My brother right there. My parents, I can't see them. They look at me, worried faces, and then wake up again. And then this time I wake up at home the next morning, light outside. Yes. So that's the story of when I first experienced that.
Panicking Skywalker. That's what you were, right? Unreal.
Yes. So obviously there's different ways, and now this is weed, right? And it's oftentimes not about the drug. It's about your mental space. It's about your thoughts. Is the point of this story? Is the moral of this story? It's very important to bear in mind that these things can happen, and if you let them happen, they will. You just need to control it. You need to be in charge of your own self. Obviously, I don't actually know what the question was, but yeah.
Did you legalize drugs? Was the question.
What was the question?
Did we legalize drugs?
Should we legalize drugs? I would personally, I would say no to that unless we're talking about certain types of drugs. But then again, you could speak about gateway drugs, right?
I think that's just a myth, honestly. But a lot of people do believe in gateway drugs and things like that.
I believe in it. Do you know why? Because you're chasing a high.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want.
Yeah.
I want another one. I want another one. Oh, that doesn't feel right enough. Let's see what this feels like. Oh, that feels great. Let's do it again.
I think again, it's very situational to a person that's going through it. Like, say my friend was he smoked weed for like 10 years. He never really went for the high. He went to that basically medicine, as he likes to call it, because he had so many thoughts and so many bad thoughts that he just calmed him down, right? And he needed something to calm his thoughts. So I get the gateway drug with like they're chasing that high, but sometimes people aren't chasing the high; they just want something to calm them down. So I think again, if it's medicine, then it's okay, right? And legalize it in
Mm,
that form. But on to
mm.
Katrin's question. Unless you got anything else to say about the topic, we do have one more question, which we did say in the quick fire round. Do you analyze humor of people? Like when you're around new people and want to match the vibes of that person.
Wish. Well, analyze. How do you mean analyze? You said something about when you're around new people and
Mhm.
want to match the vibes. Okay, so
Mhm.
matching vibes more so than because when I reading that question, I think about straight away. Do you analyze the humor of people and maybe do you want to get on the same level and you try to improve by listening to better, listening to people is a good skill to have because you improve on yourself. So humor is one of those things, but that's not the question here. The question is how do you and
Like,
what to do to match those vibes of is that the question?
it's more like
Do you want to
do
go
you
into that one, Aiden?
yeah, we can do. Like, do you analyze humor of people? And like when you're around new people. So for me to be friends with somebody, or for me to have a relationship with somebody, I have to be able to. I don't need to necessarily understand the humor, but at the same time, I need to get it. I don't know if that makes sense. I think to answer it, yeah, I think you do have to analyze the humor of people to make sure it's the same kind of standard as your own, or to see how far you can push that standard. I mean, I have a really high tolerance for humor, and I think like anyone could say a kind of a sick joke to me, and I know it's a joke. You know, I wouldn't be complaining about that. And I think again, you do have to assess people in terms of the humor side. Like, if I think somebody isn't funny, I'm less interested in them, right? If I think somebody's just completely boring and doesn't really have anything to say, like if the complete, you can be serious and you have to have a
Mm,
switch to be able to be serious and to
mm,
sometimes have a joke. I feel like if you're always serious, it's boring. But at the same time, if you're always not serious, it's again you can't build a relationship with somebody that's not serious. You know,
yeah.
I think that's for me. It's like yeah, you do have to have that. I do analyze people more so than I should about how they act about certain things because you know there is time and a place to be serious and there is time and a place to have a joke. If you see that everybody in the room is not laughing, then the joke's not funny, right? But if like some people say a joke which is funny and then they continue the same joke, it gets repetitive and boring, right? And again, I wouldn't
Yeah.
consider them to be interesting as a person, and I wouldn't be friends with them. Like it's pretty much like that for me.
Yeah, I think timing is everything when it comes to comedy, right? And I'm not even talking about saying the right thing at the right time. I'm even saying about the how quickly you may speak and or how slowly
Mm,
you may speak. Right, that's important as well, because oftentimes you can have a oh that's funny in your head thought just happened in your brain and you want to say it out loud straight away, right? And it's not how it works. Sometimes you need to like sort of play around it. You need to like sort of slowly get those words out at the right time and not fucking throw the map,
mm,
that's important as well. And a lot of times people, when they say a joke and nobody's laughing in the office, I think largely that's due to because they haven't understood the idea behind that, because that's me a lot of the times.
mm,
I can relate to that. I can misjudge a situation or um my timing might be very off, or my tone of voice might be off, or just emotion, pure emotion behind it, and like how I say it could be just a little bit dead. It matters. All of these things matter. One person can say one sentence. And another person can say one sentence, and they will get the entire room laughing, and it's the same sentence. And the other person, nobody laughs,
mm.
right? Because that matters. It's
It's
how you say
subjective.
it.
I think it's subjective as well. Some
Yeah,
people find things funny, some people don't find things funny. But again, if that person makes a joke and I find it funny, that's my guy, you know? If
yeah,
I find it funny, then I will be there. I mean, there's not a lot of things that I find funny that aren't funny, but sometimes I feel like the world does need a bit of laughter. You know, there's so much tragedy that's going on in the world. There's so much cancellations. There's so much crap that's going on, where sometimes you just need to make a light of the situation. I mean, a personal experience is like when my nan passed like 6 or 7 years ago. You know, I went down to Felixstowe, which is the other side of the country, where she passed away, and everyone in the room obviously was black, it was dull, it was so, you know, depressing because we've just lost our nan, obviously. But me turning up there was not to be on the same page as them. It was to make the room laugh, right? It was to say some stupid stuff, change the atmosphere. Let's get things in motion. You know, we knew
you need that sometimes.
You also need that as well. You need somebody that can pick up the atmosphere when it goes down.
And once again, timing is important, but even in situations like that, it can work. It's just how it comes across.
And it's a good skill to have, to be honest. Because
it is very good skill.
You can break the ice really easy. Like, how do we do things? You know, like things I used to laugh about, like just saying things that my nan used to say in the room. You know, that used to wind everybody up, and just remembering about them times. Again, it's an important thing to be that kind of you know, that way. But yeah, on to that point. I remember saying something to you earlier though, just to move off topic of that. The ship incident I said I was going to go into with you. You know, with the hit the Baltimore Bridge.
Oh yes, yeah. What is this?
Yeah,
you brought it up, and obviously you said, "Oh, actually, let's discuss it on this podcast." So here we are. What is this? So
I've got the link up. So I was doing it in the background as you were saying a few things. So let's move over to the evidence page for you guys. So there was a Baltimore Bridge collapse earlier. So basically, a massive ship, and I mean huge ship with cargo ship, basically lost its power. And went straight into the Baltimore Bridge and collapsed it. Now, this Baltimore Bridge is like 1.9 miles long, apparently. Like, it's a huge bridge. Right? It's been there for years. And the key things at the moment is that it's collapsed. It's been struck by a cargo ship. 6 people have been reported as missing, as 2 have already been pulled from water. So people were actually driving on this bridge. Bearing in mind, it's huge. It's 1.9 miles long, so it's massive, right? And people are driving to get from one place to another on this bridge. So as this cargo has hit it, these people have gone flying into the river where this cargo ship has hit it. So there's the ship issued Mayday before the crash. There's, you know, do you want to watch the video? It's not traumatic. I mean, it's traumatic. You've seen it, but it's not like sickening. It'll be,
as long as we can watch it on Twitch.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
we can definitely watch it. It'll be completely fine. Let me get the evidence of this. It's kind of like, look at the state of this bridge. Like if you look at it, construction was break with ship. Obviously there's been mayors and stuff that have been said about it. The bridge has been completely collapsed. The moment the bridge was hit, let's watch this video. This was posted on TikTok. Here you go. Look at the start. Look at that. Someone was videoing it because the cargo went straight into it. We'll just go back to watch it.
No!
Look at that. That is crazy.
No!
How mad is that? So this happened in, obviously, America.
Oh my god. Wait. People must have been on that bridge.
Yeah. May not be, say, passed away or died or whatever. I feel like they're getting pulled out of it, but they're looking for survivors. Like I say, because the bridge is huge.
Jesus.
The bridge is huge. So people are driving on that bridge. Like,
was that a finished bridge?
Yeah, completely finished. It was completely finished.
And one pillar. Good. Surely that's a fault in designing it. One thing goes and the whole thing goes.
I mean, it's a cargo ship though. Like,
it is a cargo ship. It is. But look, go back up.
Yeah. Just trying to find out the video. I want to get the actual video, which was insane. I saw it earlier.
It's just a picture of the bridge, right? The picture of the bridge. There it was.
This one. Yeah.
It's delayed. Hold on. Yes. So that is done for the for the cosmetic, not cosmetic, for the visual value.
Yeah.
That is this is like Titanic all over again, right?
Without being an iceberg, sure, yeah.
Well, Titanic was designed to fit as many people, but did not account for because why did they not have enough lifeboards? Because less people would fit in. Right? That's a cosmetic. That's a visual. That's a money value. That right there, similar, but on the visual aspect, it looks cool. But you know for a fact, as soon as that one thing goes down, the whole thing goes down because it's not supported by anything else, right? So that's and not even cargo ship, fucking my dick. It doesn't matter what hits it, bro. What matters is that it went down. That one little structure that supported it.
Yeah. Trend it's currently live. Yeah, it's live at the moment. But like I say, I just wanted to go into that point about that though. I just thought it was kind of crazy to keep people up to date with what's going on. I mean, we're going to Google. Let me just have a look on when was this was built in 1972. So it's been built for over 50 years, right? So it's been pretty fine, but I just think it's kind of crazy how because of one mishap like the whole thing. But I think obviously tragedy to the ones that have they have lost, and condolences to the people there. But yeah, I just wanted to think it's nice to not necessarily nice. It's just crazy to see the life events that happen. I saw this I just saw it earlier today.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a mad one. I've not even heard of it. Where is this?
So Baltimore's in America. I don't know exactly where though. Let's have a quick look. Maryland, which is Baltimore.
In America, okay, yeah. That's crazy. Obviously, it was controlled. The whole thing was controlled automatically. So obviously they lost control of it.
Yeah, and the power went off on the cargo ships. It went straight into the bridge and brought it down, which I think is just nuts things that can happen in this world. I'll tell you.
No, that's a bit crazy. Seeing things like that, right? And once again, going back to like what the things you don't see, you're not affected by, right? Somebody could be watching that, or they hear about it, and they're like, "Oh, I really love that," and they lose sleep over it. I liked that bridge. My granddad built it. He's dead now, but he built it, or whatever, right? Yeah. It's like what things that you don't see don't affect you. So sometimes ignorant is bliss. Being ignorant is bliss. That's one of my favorite things, right? It's not the greatest thing because obviously you can become very passive and whatever, but if things do get to you, sometimes it's a good thing to be a bit ignorant. But yeah, no, that's a bit of a mad one.
Yeah, let's just on to the next point. So I think we go back onto the discussing about the fact like streamers that do actually like take drugs, right?
No, that's true. So obviously we've discussed the addiction behind playing games, addiction behind games, and purchasing products from games like microtransactions, or even the gambling aspects of it, like opening boxes or chasing that high of the next game, which also results in spending money and time doing so. Obviously results in it could be linked into actual drugs and those things from that side of things, and that's a comparison that can be made. It's not the same, but addiction is the same. Addiction, the feeling of being addicted. Obviously there's the mental how it affects your brains and whatnot, and drugs can do that and video games can't. But then again, there's also mental health that video games can impact more so. And like Aiden said, linking those two things together, games and drugs, and off you go, son.
Well, what do you like? I think personally there is obviously performance enhancing drugs as well that we haven't really even gone into. So like pro gamers, for example, could take Adderall and things like that to heighten their abilities to be better at the game, and I don't think
it works.
It does work, and I don't think it's even policy. Is it policed or something like that? Anyway, it's in
regulated.
Regulated, yeah. And I think again, starting off on drugs like Adderall, again, your body becomes nothing like immune to that effect, right? So you take more and more and more, and then again you start chasing the high of like. Then you move up to the harsher drugs. Again, Adderall could be a gateway drug, like you said earlier, and then started to do other stuff. you know, there's obviously speculation about certain people. I mean, yourself, you've dealt with your own speculation when it comes to people coming to your stream, and
Absolutely.
because you've been hyper, because of, you know, you've had a good day at work, you're feeling
My
yourself.
brain has released some sort of chemicals
Yeah,
naturally.
but then obviously
that
you're dealt with it in
makes
ways. Yeah.
absolutely, and you know, from that perspective, people can come down to my stream, and I can be acting a certain way, and I give into that way. It's called entertaining the character. It's entertaining the character for the content value of it. It's not giving up. It's not being cringed out by your own performance and really giving into the idea of, oh, I like where this takes me, right? That in itself is a drug. Drugs are not just artificial. Drugs can be also created within your own brain. It depends on the situation that you're in. If you really feed into an emotion and a certain chemical release and reaction within your brain, if you feed into that and keep feeding it, it can become largely, it can largely affect you as a person. Absolutely. You know, take for somebody that's having a panic attack, that's a release of a chemical within your brain. You know, take somebody that's having, you know, any really emotion, somebody that's experiencing grief, you know, excitement, love. These are releases of chemicals. All of them alter how you feel and what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my experience, obviously, I can have a very loud music stream, and my energy, you know, could be up there. The more I feed into that, the more it may seem like I all of a sudden, oh shit, this guy's on cocaine. This guy's taking some speed. This guy is probably on MD. Whatever it might be, I understand the perspective. Because if I was in your shoes, I'd probably be like, shit, I don't know this guy. I've just came onto the stream, or I watch this guy every day and he's never like this. I understand it. Now, with that said, I have never, and never will, because I don't need to, because I can reach that sort of momentum within my life without the need of it. It's not something I can control. Drugs control it. They give it to you instantly, right? So it's not something I can ask for on the spot, right? If it reaches, I explore that and I give into that feeling, right? So I will absolutely not let go of it. If I'm feeling like hyper energetic, that stream is a different stream. It's a very random stream. I can't plan. Next Tuesday we'll have a party stream. It's not going to be the same one that we had where the people did tell me, are you taking drugs on stream? It's not the same, is it? But there are streamers out there that I think do take drugs when they stream.
You want to drop any names, or you're going to leave that to the imagination?
Absolutely. So we had a chat about this even on my stream before, and we've mentioned Kesha, right? The Nunu player. Kesha. I didn't think of this. It's actually been advised to me. It's actually been given to me as a oh yeah, this person does it. I was like, oh shit, hold on. Now I've considered it and now I agree with it, right? This is why, you know, it's important to have these discussions the sake of this podcast, you know, to reach different conclusions and opinions, to change your mind or offer different perspectives to other people that might be watching, right? And in my instance, it was the same thing with Kesha. I thought my guy has some form of autism, maybe, or has very high ADHD, and he's just unique in that way. He probably does, sure, but he might also enhance it with artificial drugs, right? I'm not just talking about the drugs that his brain releases that make him feel in and use, you know, make him gain the views that he gets in a unique way because of the way he is. When I'm acting like a dickhead, I get a fuckload of views as well. You know, it's something that draws people in. It's something that's different, you know. But he might enhance it. And Kesha, the Nunu OTP crazy guy, I've heard takes speed. Now, I don't know I have absolutely no proof. This is not me saying that he does, but it's a discussion. And this is Unplugged, ladies and gents. So we do talk about these things on here. So I don't know, to be honest. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a... Yeah, I don't watch enough Kesha to really know. Like, I've seen obviously clips of him going crazy and stuff, but I don't, like, say, if I've watched him, I can't really give an opinion about somebody I've not really watched. I mean, I could give an opinion about what I see when I see your streams when you're going when you have them streams that you go off. I've pretty much been there for every single one of them. So I think, again, I don't think for you it's more about
Say your honest opinion and be unplugged on this one. Do you
yeah,
think I've
yeah.
ever taken anything, any drugs to be like that on any of those streams? Please be honest.
I don't think like me.
Did it cross your mind?
No, I don't. But I'm pretty biased because of the fact I know you, right? So
Mhm.
again, I think maybe not enhancing drugs in that term, but I know you've been taking your new supplements and things, so it may enhance you.
That's recent, though.
That is recent.
That's recent, and they did make me feel like that in the recent ones. I've been taking is it Zootropolis? Nootropics by Nootropics by this company called Bulk. It's just a regular company. You could get it off of Amazon, right? And it's got caffeine in it. And I've taken maybe 4, and you can take up to 6 a day, and it increases your brain function and your energy, right? That one I don't recommend as much because it's not as healthy because it has caffeine in it. And I've taken 4 and 5 at a time, and I've had that weird stomach crump in one of them, and it made me feel weird. So that's an enhancing legal supplement. Supplement is the key word here. I can even show you, right? Joe Rogan, which is another person obviously that does podcasts, he recommends this. Now, this is a supplement called Alpha Brain. Helps support memory and focus. Daily cognitive support. Dietary supplement you can take up to 2 a day, and I've taken 2 of these a day for the past week. Especially when I start streaming, because it helps me. Not sponsored at all. Go and get some. They're quite expensive. £1 per pill, and there's 30 in there. So obviously you're going to spend like 30 quid plus delivery. So they're not the cheapest. But at the same time, I think they work because I have heavy brain fog. I have heavy. I can't focus, tunnel vision. You know, I can't really speak, elaborate on my opinions and thoughts. I forget. That's the main one. My memory's atrocious. There's the accent coming out. And obviously there's also the idea of just yapping maybe sometimes, and you know, things like that. This really does help me to be a little bit more connected with my thoughts and focus, like it says, memory and focus. And I agree, absolutely, it helps.
Yeah, and again, go to the point of you know, my personal opinion about your stream. Obviously, I think you're very influenced on what's happening in the conversation, though, and who's in the who's actually in the chat. You know, it's like, say for example, name dropping here, but Brew. You know, when he's in there, when he's doing the parties, you kind of vibe with the person that's also vibing with you, and he's like,
absolutely.
If you've got like people in the chat that don't vibe with you, I know instantly you go down. But if you were on drugs, you would stay there, right? You would stay at that level no matter what your chat is saying. Like, you would keep up to that high momentum and keep going. You buzz in, even if the chat isn't there. But if your chat's going and you're going with it, like,
I feed off of my chat.
Yeah, that's not
why
something
I
that
encourage
drugs
my
can
chat
do.
during giveaways.
Yeah,
to be like that.
That's not something that, you know, can be. That's just personal, and I feel like, again, you can't. That's why it's hard for you to say, like, on Tuesday it's going to be a party stream, or on Wednesday it's going to be a party stream, because you don't know who's going to turn up for your stream on that day, which makes it a party stream. They just happen simultaneously, and again, if you haven't been one of them, you should definitely get over on the giveaways. Just a slight little plug for you for here. The way with the giveaways are absolutely such a great
it's a
interaction.
different vibe, right? It feels like I'm out on a night out on a Friday night, and there's people joining me, and I feel like people are joining, literally drinking, socializing, partying, and that's what I want it to be. That's the reason I plug it for the money, and I say, come here because we're gonna give money away. Guess what? That's because that's what sells. That's what buys views. Okay, and that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to buy those views, because some of those views might turn up and they will see the party main, and they will stay for the real me, because that's a great way to promote yourself. It's just another way to get out there somehow to represent. This is new, a podcast, right? This is very calm and chatting. I don't think a lot of people take for what I have to say as a serious thing. For the most part, when I started streaming, I've never been a very chatty guy. Only recently I've been a little bit more connected with I think it's because of the, once again, and I've been, watching a lot of podcasts. I've been, that part of my brain is developing, and I feel like I'm just exploring that, and I'm really giving it a go. And that's why I'm doing these podcasts. That's why I've come up with these. And Aiden's, absolutely here for the ride as well. So it's something that, is I'm exploring. So it's new. So it's not going to, raise the numbers that my giveaways do or my party streams do, because that's me, that's what people show up for, that's what people love. But again, I would love for this part of Domain and Surge to be recognized a little bit more as well.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a good thing to really state. I mean, like, not every stream that, like, say for example, for me when I stream, it's a different vibe than when you stream. You're very party going. For me, it's people join me because they love the fact, like, they can relate to the fact I get annoyed at the game, and they're passionate about League, and they join me playing League.
Yeah. You do your VOD reviews,
and I do the VOD reviews and things like that. So they join me for different reasons.
It's such a different experience, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that's, it goes into that question really. Yeah,
and that's great. Honestly, that's a great. Oh, I'm gone. That's a great way of. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but that's a great way of really reaching everything, right? What we've discussed today was just slightly introducing ourselves, which links obviously to our games and the love of it, and links into the current greed behind studios in the games that do release games, studios that do release games, and obviously the greediness behind the market, which sort of links onto how people still buy and feed off of feed the market, onto addiction, whether that's with drugs or games or gambling within games, or addiction within games, all of that stuff. And then obviously addiction, drugs and streaming, which we just discussed. And I feel like overall, and we've done a few tangents, which is great, which I think we can never let those go if they naturally come by, and we find those tangents, like the abortion discussion and whatever else we've talked about. Those things are important as well. So I feel like we've pretty much covered what I'm trying to say. Every topic that we've aimed to cover today on this podcast. It took us about 3 hours, which is what I was actually aiming for. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good to end on this note. Really, I think think so. We've done everything that we wanted to do. I feel like, again, we were trusting it. Just going with our instincts. Again, we did plenty of revisions in terms of like how we're going to do things, but we never really had a script to how we're going to do it or how to say it. And again, I hope that's come across to everybody else. We've answered random questions in the chat box, which comes up sometimes. The idea of the 20 seconds to answer any questions that you've put in. We've come to an agreement with getting the questions and then giving us time after the 20 seconds to.
It's better to do it that way, I believe, because we're not here to do a stream. We're not. We're here to do a podcast. That's the main aim.
Exactly.
But because we're streaming, obviously there will be messages, and we can't ignore those. And what better way to do but to make a game around it and make it a little bit more immersive and a little bit more like, shit, the quick fire round, baby, so whenever we do those, obviously that's when we pick up the questions that we missed out on for a while. If you're here for the listening, which is what it should be, right, absolutely, but because it's a live stream, you can also put an input into this. So if you are watching this on YouTube, then yes, you have just finished watching our first ever episode of Unplugged, Domain and Surge podcast. Now, these will be every Tuesday reoccurring thing.
7
This is the first one. Exactly. So we will try to do it on the YouTube channel that you will find this VOD on. Well, we will. We just couldn't do it this time around for the reasons we've explained. But we will do, and make sure you do plug out, because this is the time when you should do, and join in with us on these like sort of unhinged, unfiltered discussions. And bear in mind, this is the first episode. So you might think this was not unhinged. That's all. I've seen better. You will see better.
And that's our aim now.
That's a
Our aim is to
fucking
keep.
promise.
It's getting better. This is the first time we've ever sat down and actually done a conversation. Hoping it's to, you can put it on a second monitor just to listen to something whilst you guys are gaming, doing whatever you want to do. And it's nice for us as well after having a busy day working, for example, Dom coming home, just sitting down having a natter. But we could do this off stream, and that's what's good about it. We can do this kind of stuff. But again, I think we should plug our. If you haven't already, you should definitely have a look at all of our socials. We will be posting most of the time. I will try and do it. I won't post every day, but I will be posting with updates. I will be doing shorts. I'll be doing YouTube videos and all sorts for the podcast. So get yourselves involved. So yeah, if you want to give us an ending, Domain, I know you're really good at giving us that. Let's give us a farewell.
Absolutely. Yo, listen, I can do it my way if you'd like to. But I don't think I can do it on this camera. But I feel like with that said, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it at that. That's what we strive to do here. That's exactly what we want to do here. Whether we're gonna improve as we go, whether this is something that you guys can help us on improving as we go. But the most important thing that I can hope for and ask for is that give us that chance. Hence the link that I've just pressed, hit in the chat. This is the YouTube channel. This is the important part of it, because once again, there's a lot of questions for the people that are joining my stream right now, that are joining Aiden's stream. What is this? What is going on? Like, what is it? This is a podcast. This is not the normal stuff. I've got an audience. I've got a stream. I've got a platform to stream it on. So I'm absolutely going to use it. This is once every Tuesday. So make sure you calm down and join us, because once we unplug, there's no stopping us. Let me tell you that much.
True.
Get out. On that note, thank you guys. It's been your boy Domain.
It's been Serge.
Thank you so much for watching. Stick around on my stream, on Aiden's stream, because I'm not done yet. Good night. Unfucking plugged. Well, actually, plugging back in. Plugging back in, guys. We are plugging back in. Plugged in! Because we can't stay unplugged for too long. They'll get us. The internet police will get us, guys.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
And that's it, right? We can leave it at that for the VOD. Oh, shit! Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right. Okay, let's do that again. Yeah? Let's do that again. Okay, hang on a second. He's just reached us, boys and girls.
Yeah, we need to get the outro.
Let's do it again. Yeah, griefer. Okay, I'll go again.
Yes, and with that said, thank you very much for watching. You can now plug back in, like I've just mentioned. But we absolutely did not fail an outro. This is not the second time we're doing it. Good night, guys. Bye-bye.